Do you love novels, but don't have time to read thousands of chapters? Imagine listening to your favorite stories anytime, anywhere, while driving, working, or relaxing. Here, you'll find premium audiobooks from Pocket FM, Audible, Webnovel, Wuxia, and more, all in one place. Every novel is a one-time payment, no subscriptions, no monthly fees, lifetime access. The full novel list and prices are in the description below. Once you choose a novel, just DM me on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord. After payment via PayPal, Ko-fi, or Patreon, you get permanent access to the audiobook on Telegram. And if the novel is ongoing, all future updates are included. Check the description, pick your story, and start listening today. Before we start the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Enjoy, and let's go.
31. Chapter 31, Flames of Vengeance. I/N. Bonus Chapter 100 Power Stones. Amid the chaos in the Demon Imperial Hall, the little Demon Empress and Renzu had finally arrived. Could be said that they arrived just in the nick of time, and yet it was extremely thrilling. This was because if they had arrived just a moment later, as soon as Yun Qinghong's lightning-tinted blood exploded, he would surely have died. On their journey back to the Demon Imperial Hall, Renzu had thought of dozens of different situations that might be unfolding here. But the chaos in the Demon Imperial Hall caused him to furrow his brows, and the moment he saw the state Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro were in, a spark of realization flashed in his dark, calm, and indifferent eyes, as serene as two pools of water. He immediately moved toward them, teleporting to their front while calling out, "Father, Mother, Zuer." Looking at Renzu who appeared before them, Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro's eyes began to well with tears, and they were dazed as if they had started dreaming. Renzu urgently asked, "Father, Mother, how are you? Are you seriously injured?" Based on his abilities, he could tell with a single glance that although Mu Yuro was injured, she was not in critical condition. However, Yun Qinghong's face was pale, his lips purple, most of his shirt was stained with blood red, and besides being seriously injured, most of his vital energy had been depleted. So, without wasting a moment thinking, he immediately pressed his palm against Yun Qinghong's chest and circulated his profound energy, transforming it into the profound light element with full force, slowly healing and stabilizing his father. "Zuer, you're alive. My Zuer isn't dead. That's great. That's great." Mu Yuro didn't care where she was, and at that moment, nothing else mattered to her. She simply threw herself forward and tightly embraced her son. Her tears fell like rain, sobbing soundlessly. Renzu said softly, "Your son has been unfilial to father and mother. How could I allow myself to die? Father, Mother, I've made you worry and suffer this time." With him using the healing properties of the profound light element, Yun Qinghong's injuries rapidly diminished, and even his five senses became clearer. He looked at Renzu, and even this iron-willed man was shedding tears. "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. You're still alive. That's the act of filial piety we wanted, in this life of mine. Even if it's lost, I'll have no regrets." "Father, don't say such nonsense," Renzu said calmly. "Your injuries. This small loss of blood essence, it's nothing." A small jade vial appeared in his hand as if it had always been there. "These pills will restore your strength and heal your wounds. One for each of you." He handed one to Yun Qinghong first, then to Mu Yuro, leaving no room for objections. The two, without hesitation, swallowed the pills. The moment they touched their throats, a stream of pure warmth coursed through their bodies. The medicinal energy spread like ripples in a lake, regenerating flesh, bones, and even the essence of their profound veins. Mu Yuro trembled slightly, already feeling the pain subside, while tears still streamed down her face. Yun Qinghong, on the other hand, felt a robust energy reignite in his body, as if his life had been rekindled by a sacred flame. "Zuer." Yun Qinghong's voice was hoarse, but it carried an indescribable emotion. He clenched his fists, tears still marking his eyes. "These pills you..." Renzu interrupted him with a gentle smile, though his gaze remained as cold and resolute as ever. "Don't think about how I got them. Just focus on recovering. Both of you need to be well. I'm here now, so from now on there's nothing to fear." "Good." Yun Qinghong closed his eyes with just a single, small word, but it carried an immense amount of gratitude. Although the little demon empress had returned, they were still surrounded by powerful enemies, and based on the strength Du Kuai possessed, they had not yet escaped the crisis. But at this moment, he still smiled while crying. He wasn't the least bit anxious, resentful, or enraged, only grateful and content. His entire family had finally reunited, and that was an extravagant wish he thought he would never achieve again in his lifetime. On the other hand, Renzu's act of appearing and saving his parents was enough to draw attention to him. The gazes that were previously fixed on Yun Qinghong, the little demon empress, or the life and death situation now instinctively turned toward him. His smooth black hair fell to the small of his back, reflecting light in a cold, silky sheen, like freshly combed wet silk. Each of his movements made those strands glide gently, as if even the air had become obedient to him. His eyes, black and profound, resembled two still lakes at midnight, calm on the surface but with the feeling of infinite abysses hidden in their darkness. Those who dared to stare into them for more than a few seconds felt their own souls being drawn in, their thoughts scattered, their hearts beating uncontrollably. His skin was fair and flawless, like polished jade. The contours of his face were defined yet soft, without a single imperfection, as if a divine craftsman had spent 1,000 years carving just to achieve this perfection. His thin, slightly curved lips carried a provocative tranquility, the kind of subtle smile that made any promise spoken by him sound like an irresistible command. The indifference in his expression, combined with this overwhelming beauty, only intensified the torment and fascination of everyone. Who was this immortal who accompanied the little demon empress? Could it be Yun Renzu from the rumors? Since when was he this beautiful? Since when was he so beautiful? Murmured one of the Yun clan elders, unable to contain the thought. Is it just me? Or does he seem even more dazzling than the demon emperor himself in his youth? Another couldn't help but whisper, feeling embarrassed the moment the words left his mouth. The younger female disciples present, who until then had been trembling in fear, lost themselves in their own daydreams. Some covered their lips with their hands, trying to hide the sudden flush on their faces. Even the men, hardened warriors and seasoned elders, felt their hearts beat a little faster. On the other hand, the little demon empress slowly swept her gaze across the entire battlefield. Her soft lips, however, let out a cold, chilling voice. Who will explain to this empress exactly what is happening here? The little demon empress's voice carried an overwhelmingly heavy pressure that dispelled all the attention those present were giving to Renzu, who knew how many times heavier than before. Even if someone didn't look at her, just hearing her voice, they would be unable to breathe and would feel their entire body stiffen. The little demon empress, who was originally thought to be dead, appeared on the day of the new emperor's ascension, even bringing with her the mark of the Golden Crow and returning with the awakened Golden Crow bloodline. This was undoubtedly the most shocking and inopportune sight in the illusory demon realm. The leader of the demon emperor's imperial guards stepped forward. His voice trembled slightly as he said, "Little demon empress, for months ago, there was absolutely no trace of you, and Duke Huai said you had gone to the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. Everyone thought you had met with misfortune there. That's why today is the new emperor's ascension ceremony." Ascension ceremony? The little demon empress slowly turned her gaze, pointing her cold, freezing stare at Duke Huai, along with everyone standing behind him. Duke Huai, you are truly impressive. How are you worthy of wearing the robes of an emperor? The demon empress's fury, that shocking wave of pressure, made everyone choke for a moment. Several of those who had defected to Duke Huai in recent months were in a confused mental state. They stood foolishly frightened, completely lost. However, most of the superpowers, especially those who had long been on Duke Huai's side, exchanged glances, and gradually, their initial confusion faded. So what if the little demon empress had crawled out of her grave? The strength of Duke Huai's side had long surpassed that of the little demon empress. Over the past few months, it had swelled to an even greater extent. Aside from the tens of thousands of years of prestige and power the demon emperor clan possessed, what did the little demon empress have to compete with Duke Huai? The little demon empress's appearance was merely another inconvenience at the ascension ceremony. Today, not to mention the little demon empress, even if the former demon emperor were revived, they had no intention of stopping Duke Huai's ascension. After a quick exchange of glances, all the experts on Duke Huai's side calmed down. Now that things had reached this point, they had no way to retreat, nor did they need to. Duke Zhong stepped forward, meeting the little demon empress's gaze and saying, "Little demon empress, for 4 whole months, there was no sign of you. We all thought you had met with misfortune in the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. In these past few months, if it weren't for Duke Huai, if it weren't for the new emperor taking charge of the situation, the illusory demon realm would have fallen into complete chaos. The new emperor's ascension is supported by everyone and meets everyone's expectations. Why do you reprimand the new emperor?" Facing the little demon empress, Duke Zhong's words were harsh, without a trace of respect, openly criticizing, and utterly without apprehension. Clearly, he no longer saw her as the empress of the illusory demon realm. "Duke Zhong, you've got some guts, huh?" Mu Yubai sneered. "You dare to be disrespectful to the little demon empress, speaking rudely. It seems these people are ready to openly rebel now. What did Duke Zhong say that was wrong? Helian Kuang shouted, forcibly suppressing Mu Yubai's voice. Little Demon Empress, you're still alive, and that's truly a pleasant surprise, but you disappeared for 4 whole months without a trace, so the illusory demon realm thought you were dead. Thus, the Little Demon Empress would naturally become history. Now that the new emperor has donned the imperial robes, what's done cannot be undone. It's only reasonable that the true emperor of the illusory demon realm is now Duke Huai, and no longer the Little Demon Empress. Ha! Mu Fian laughed coldly. As the patriarch of a guardian family of the Demon Emperor clan, you have the audacity to say such outrageous words. The honor of hundreds of generations of Helian ancestors has been completely thrown away by this generation. Humph! Helian Kuang's expression didn't change. Our Helian family protects the true emperor of the illusory demon realm. What we protect is the peace of the illusory demon realm. Not to mention that the Little Demon Empress is a woman. Based solely on ability, the new emperor surpasses the Little Demon Empress. Based on public opinion, the new emperor is better than the Little Demon Empress. The new emperor is more suitable as the emperor of the illusory demon realm than the Little Demon Empress. The only reason the Little Demon Empress could be the empress of the illusory demon realm for 100 years was simply due to the demon emperor's bloodline. She abandoned the illusory demon realm without hesitation. Not even caring, disappearing suddenly for 4 months, causing great chaos. And now that she's back, what prestige, what moral ground does she have to continue leading the illusory demon realm? Renzu, who had remained silent beside his parents until then, slightly raised his chin. His black gaze slid toward Helian Kuang, like a blade dipped in ice. He took a step forward. And then he smiled, a light, almost lazy smile, but one that carried a sharp poison. Helian Kuang, is that how you talk? Like a dog switching masters after thinking the old one died. His words fell like muffled thunder. Helian Kuang's pupils narrowed. His mouth instinctively opened, but no words came out. He felt as if he had been stripped bare before everyone. His justifications reduced to dust. Such cruel words from such a beautiful face. Renzu didn't stop there. You speak of protecting the peace of the illusory demon realm? Heh. Don't make me laugh. Since when do traitorous dogs have the right to talk about peace? You cling to Duke Huai's robes like it's your new bone, wagging your tail and barking to please. Is that what the Helian family has become? Guardians? No, mere mutts. You have the mission to protect the Demon Emperor clan, and you even proclaimed unparalleled loyalty, unchanging even in the face of death. Yet now you're reprimanding the Little Demon Empress with your head held high. How impressive. You truly have no sense of shame. I really want to ask Patriarch Helian, who was it that united the infinitely chaotic illusory demon realm? Who was it that gave the illusory demon realm tens of thousands of years of peace, allowing both humans and demons to coexist peacefully? Who was it that guided your guardian families to reign over these lands under the heavens, allowing you to stand at the peak of the illusory demon realm for tens of thousands of years? And who was it that allowed certain ungrateful, shameless dukes to live in glory and splendor since birth? Was it the Demon Emperor clan? Or was it this new emperor you can't wait to grovel to? You! The moment Renzu finished speaking, Helian Kuang's heart swelled violently. He couldn't defend himself against his words. You actually dared to grandiosely proclaim that this Duke Huai is more suitable to become the emperor of the illusory demon realm than the Little Demon Empress. Ha ha ha. That's the biggest joke of all. If it weren't for the Demon Emperor clan, Duke Huai wouldn't be worth even a fart. What qualifications would he have to compete with the Little Demon Empress? Renzu's gaze hardened, and he said seriously, you keep blaming the Little Demon Empress for disappearing for 4 months. So why don't you ask your new emperor why the Little Demon Empress disappeared for 4 months? He knows very well. His words silenced everyone. You're the young Patriarch Yun, right? The one who was thought to be dead along with the Little Demon Empress. What exactly happened? The Lord of the Heavenly Demon Region, Qin Zhang, asked anxiously. For months ago, what exactly happened? Could it really be that Duke Huai? Renzu turned his gaze, and facing the attention of the entire arena, he said lightly, ladies and gentlemen who have been in the Demon Imperial City for the past few months, perhaps you've more or less heard some rumors about the ambitions of Duke Huai's palace. However, besides Duke Huai's palace harboring ill intentions, they are tens of thousands of times more malicious and manipulative than you think. For months ago, it was he, Duke Huai, along with his long-missing father, Duke Ming, who took advantage of the Little Demon Empress's weakened state to kill her. I protected her and used a treasure that allowed us to escape, but we were sent directly to the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley because of it. Renzu's words echoed through the Imperial Hall like muffled thunder. A suffocating silence took over the place. Even those who had already chosen Duke Huai's side couldn't stop their hearts from trembling. It was as if each syllable spoken by Renzu was an invisible blow to their convictions, shattering justifications, tearing masks, and exposing the absurdity of their betrayal. Helian Kwang's face was rigid, his mouth opening and closing without making a sound, like a fish out of water. No response came because there was no response. Those words, murmured one of the Helian elders, unable to lift his gaze to his patriarch. The younger female disciples of the guardian families were completely lost. Renzu's beauty was already enough to stir their hearts. But now, combined with his commanding presence and relentless voice, the enchantment became inescapable. One of them let slip in a trembling whisper. He's not just beautiful. He's like a deity descending to the mortal world. The hardened warriors, who had previously boasted loyalty to Du Kuai, felt their faces burn. One of them, unable to control his thoughts, swallowed hard, staring at Renzu and wondering in shock. Since when did Yun Qinghong's son become like this? If he were the emperor, even the Yun clan elders were stunned. For them, the young master's return was already an impossible blessing, but seeing him take center stage in the hall, delivering words that silenced dozens of powerhouses at once, was like witnessing the rise of a star destined to swallow the heavens. Enough! Du Kuai's voice finally erupted, laden with fury and pressure, like thunder shattering the silence. Those words broke the stupor everyone was immersed in, like a bucket of cold water thrown over a forbidden dream. The weight of his aura surged through the hall, suffocating the weaker hearts and bringing them back to reality. Don't be swayed by the poisonous words of a brat who just returned, he shouted, his expression twisted, his eyes sparking with hatred and resentment. Renzu is nothing but a kid who hid cowardly for 4 months, daring to fabricate slanders against me and Du Kuai's palace. He took a step forward, his demonic power bursting like a black tide. You forget who sustained the illusory demon realm while the little demon empress was gone? Who maintained order, prevented external enemies from taking advantage of the chaos, and ensured stability. It was me, Du Kuai. If it weren't for me, this realm would already be in ruins. His words made many of his allies waver less. Some of those whose hearts had trembled at Renzu's presence now took a deep breath, trying to cling to any justification to avoid losing themselves. Du Kuai gave a cold laugh and said grimly, Yun Renzu, you've said too much. This emperor originally had some respect for your Yun family, but today you've truly disappointed this emperor too much. The disrespect Yun Qinghong showed this emperor could tolerate. But now that you, Yun Renzu, have appeared, this emperor already knew you'd say the same things as Yun Qinghong. As expected, your Yun family spared no effort to incriminate this emperor. Renzu looked at him coldly, his eyes expressing amusement, as if he were watching a clown struggling to put on a good performance. What a pity, there's a laughable hole in your trap, Du Kuai sneered. I have countless witnesses that 4 months ago, I was here in the city. You said this emperor plotted against the little demon empress. Can this emperor split his body? Your slander is completely full of holes, and is simply making your Yun family a laughingstock. His expression grew even darker. Your Yun family is doing its utmost to incriminate this emperor. Even if that's cowardice to the extreme, it can still be considered a form of loyalty to the demon emperor's bloodline, so this emperor can tolerate it. However, Yun Renzu, you could have stopped at slandering this emperor, but you went so far as to defame my imperial father's reputation. My imperial father was indifferent to fame and wealth, staying out of worldly troubles. Departing from the side of the former demon emperor 100 years ago, he wandered the illusory demon realm and lived his life in the wilderness. Everyone knows this. In the past 100 years, not to mention the people, even this emperor hasn't seen my imperial father, and you, a fool from the Yun family. Du Kuai's entire body trembled with rage. You actually dared to defame this emperor's imperial father that crosses this emperor's final line. Your Yun family must give this emperor an explanation today. Otherwise, don't blame this emperor for showing no mercy. Renzu took a slow step forward, as if he weren't in the midst of a battlefield but strolling through a garden under the moonlight. His black hair slid over his shoulder, reflecting a cold gleam. The slight curve of his lips brought a smile that seemed more like a blade dipped in poison. Imperial father indifferent to fame and wealth, heh. His voice came out low, too calm, but each syllable seemed to sink into the bones of those who heard it. Du Kuai, your act is becoming pathetic. The more you speak, the more you betray yourself. He raised his right hand, and a translucent crystal appeared in his palm, enveloped in a soft, vibrant light. For those unfamiliar with this item, it's something I created and sold over the past year. During his year of isolation, he needed resources to advance his cultivation. With that goal in mind, he naturally created various items and sold them, not limited to pills he crafted based on his medical knowledge. One of them was the item currently in his hand, the memory jade. Its function was identical to the technique he used with the golden crow soul to create false memories, except it used a small profound formation in its core to emulate memories upon contact with profound energy and the user's intent. The only limitation was that it could only show real memories, not false ones. In practical terms, this item was created as a failure in his research to develop his profound mental art. The moment the item appeared, a wave of shock swept through the hall. Even the oldest and most experienced lost their composure for a second. This, one of the guardian elders murmured, eyes widening. A memory jade. To think the young patriarch of the Yun family created this. It seems the elder knows what this is, so you must know its effects. It wasn't too difficult, just required some profound formations carved into a core. Anyone with good manipulation of profound energy and basic knowledge of formations could do the same. After glancing at the elder who recognized the item in his hand, Runzu lightly spun the crystal between his fingers, as if it were just a toy. The smile on his lips deepened. But anyway, for months ago, when the little demon empress was ambushed, I had already foreseen that those treacherous dogs from Duke Huai's palace would try something like this. His black eyes narrowed, glinting like abyss's devouring light. I recorded everything. He injected a thread of energy into the crystal. Immediately, above the hall, a projection took form, clear as if time had been rewound. There was the exact moment. The little demon empress with her cultivation sealed, being protected by him, with two figures appearing before them. Duke Huai and Duke Ming. The images weren't just visual, the sounds of the battle, the words exchanged. Everything that happened that day echoed with perfection. And with that, everyone also discovered the truth from 100 years ago, who was behind the death of the former demon emperor and the little demon emperor himself. It was all the fault of the people from Huai Palace. The reason they so easily believed images from a small crystal was that many knew about the memory jade. It only showed the memories of someone regarding a specific event that the practitioner recorded. It couldn't be altered or used to create false memories through such a treasure. Absolute silence. No breath dared to manifest too loudly. Renzu closed his hand, and the projection dissipated. The crystal emitted one last spark before vanishing into his palm. Duke Huai. His voice was soft, but each letter cut like steel. You said you had countless witnesses guaranteeing your presence in the city? Then explain. His mocking smile returned, slow, cruel. Explain how a man can be in the Imperial Hall, and at the same time ambushing the Empress and me. He tilted his head slightly, like a predator about to toy with its prey. Or should we all believe it was just a secret twin brother we've never heard of? Heh. Pathetic. The color drained from the faces of several of Duke Huai's supporters. The weaker ones even stepped back, their eyes full of doubt and fear. And Duke Huai, though he tried to maintain his composure, was livid, his eyes bloodshot, the mask of confidence and authority shattering before everyone. Renzu then raised his voice, clear and incisive. Ladies and gentlemen present, these are irrefutable proofs. The blood of the demon emperor that runs in your veins, the heritage of your families, everything was betrayed by this man. Duke Huai's palace not only tried to assassinate the little demon empress, they plotted against the very illusory demon realm. Everyone was aware of the ambitions of Duke Huai's palace. However, this kind of ambition, to scheme maliciously against the illusory demon emperor and the last heir of the demon emperor clan, were two entirely different concepts. Based on the prestige of the demon emperor clan in the illusory demon realm, it was enough to ignite the anger and wrath of all the citizens of the illusory demon realm, something the entire illusory demon realm could not tolerate. Could it be that Duke Huai really is? This is a conspiracy as vast as the heavens. No matter how bad Duke Huai is, he wouldn't do such a thing. Duke Ming too. This can't have happened. Your Highness, you really? The one who asked was a middle-aged monarch who had defected to Duke Huai's palace, his hands trembling as he spoke. The situation was anything but normal, because this was a situation witnessed by all the heroes of the realm. It could be the great crime of regicide. Although the demon emperor's bloodline would soon end, in the illusory demon realm, the prestige of the demon emperor clan, which possessed the Golden Crow bloodline, was unmatched. Most of the forces that had defected to Duke Huai's palace had done so because the little demon empress was gradually weakening, and Duke Huai's palace was becoming stronger. After the little demon empress, the demon emperor's bloodline would be severed, and it would be Duke Huai who would rule the lands. For the future of their own families or forces, although defecting to Duke Huai's palace was an act of disloyalty to the demon emperor clan, based on the situation at that time, they could accept it and make a conscious decision. But the assassination of the little demon empress was an act that would not be tolerated in the lands of the illusory demon realm. If it had been a perfect assassination without anyone's knowledge, it would be fine. However, if it was leaked and spread throughout the illusory demon realm, Duke Huai would definitely lose his position even if he had 10 times his power. he still couldn't confront the anger and hostility of the entire illusory demon realm. And the forces that followed Duke Huai would also become targets of ridicule. This is a bunch of nonsense. Duke Zhong roared with all his might. Just based on a memory jade created by Yunren Zhu himself. You accuse the new emperor of assassinating the little demon empress. Although the new emperor has always had great ambition, he always thought of the world, thinking of the peace and future of the illusory demon realm. Moreover, he always revered the demon emperor clan. He couldn't have done such a thing, and he has no reason to assassinate the little demon empress. There's something strange about this. Who knows? This might have been a meticulously planned conspiracy. Even though Duke Zhong was using all his effort to justify himself, his voice was noticeably trembling. Indeed, just based on the memory jade, it wasn't enough to assert that Duke Huai was behind the assassination of the little demon empress. The forces on Duke Huai's side only needed to insist on this point. Moreover, with their overwhelming strength, the little demon empress couldn't do anything. They could even counter by simply insisting on shifting the blame. If it had been the little demon empress from 4 months ago, it would indeed have been so. However, how could the current little demon empress be compared to before? The little demon empress, who had been silent until now, merely waiting for the opportunity, looked down. No matter how chaotic the palace was, no matter how the situation changed, her expression didn't change in the slightest. At this moment, she suddenly spoke, her voice incomparably cold. Yun Jiang. Yun He. Yun Shi. The little demon empress's voice carried an oppressive force that practically froze the blood, causing the chaotic hall to quiet down. The 3 great elders of the Yun family stepped forward, then said respectfully, "What instructions does the little demon empress have?" "Seize Duke Huai. Conduct a profound handle soul search." Duke Huai's expression changed slightly, but consequently, he didn't panic. His lips moved slightly, a sinister glint flashing in his eyes. The profound handle was the hereditary ability of the Yun family. It has 2 forms. Physical manifestation, it's solid and possesses part of its owner's strength, can take almost any form, and moves according to the user's will, and spiritual manifestation, can be used to attack the spirit and read minds. Under the profound handle soul search, everything Duke Huai knew would be laid bare. All his secrets, all his crimes would be completely unearthed. It would be presented before everyone. Yun Jiang, Yun He, and Yun Shi all looked puzzled. This was because they were absolutely certain that Duke Huai wouldn't allow the profound handle soul search. With the immense amount of force behind Duke Huai, they wouldn't allow anyone near him. However, as great elders of the Yun family, they naturally wouldn't go against the little demon empress's orders. Together, they obeyed. "Yes," Yun He shouted. "Duke Huai, if you want to prove your innocence, then honestly accept the profound handle soul search of our Yun family. If not, you have ulterior motives, and the crime of regicide will be witnessed by everyone here." The 3 great elders leaped together toward Duke Huai. Before they could get close, an incomparably tyrannical wave of profound force flooded them, stopping them, while 10 auras from different directions targeted them, causing the 3 incomparably powerful great elders to stiffen. For a moment, they didn't dare move recklessly. The little demon empress narrowed her eyes, her voice cold enough to pierce bones. "You dare disobey the empress's orders?" Duke Zhong gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Little demon empress, you're mistaken. Today, the emperor of the illusory demon realm is Emperor Huai. And not you, the little demon empress." Before Duke Zhong could finish his sentence, the little demon empress, who was in the air, suddenly attacked, and a pure golden flame abruptly shot downward. The flame was extremely fast. No one could do anything to react as the flame struck Duke Zhong directly in his chest. Boom! The world's most tyrannical flames exploded. In an instant, Duke Zhong's body split apart like a rag doll, breaking into countless flaming pieces. When those pieces fell to the ground, they burned into nothingness. Forget a charred corpse, not even a speck of ash was left. The inextinguishable golden crow flames fell to the ground, causing the incomparably durable profound jade floor to burn, creating wounds and holes that looked like blisters. Everyone in the hall fell into a collective silence. All stared rigidly, as shock and astonishment abruptly exploded in their eyes. The little demon empress's temperament was cold and cruel. This wasn't the first time she unexpectedly killed someone. It had happened many times. However, this time there was a huge difference compared to the others. This was because Duke Zhong, regardless of his identity, he wasn't an ordinary person. He possessed world-shocking strength, a powerful monarch at the peak of the profound world. Yet the little demon empress raised her hand and killed him in an instant. The body of a monarch, 10,000 times more durable than a large rock, couldn't resist for even a moment. He didn't even have a chance to scream. In an instant, forget the corpse, not even a scar was left. The golden crow flames extinguished silently, but everyone trembled internally. unable to say anything for a long time. Killing a tyrant in an instant was indeed shocking, but a high-level monarch truly had the power to do so. However, to kill one who was truly in the sovereign profound realm, a monarch possessing the power to look down on the entire world, this was something even the top experts of the illusory demon realm had never seen or heard of before. It was simply a kind of power that exceeded their comprehension and imagination. The change in the color of the mark between the little demon empress's brows signified that she had awakened the Golden Crow bloodline. Her strength naturally increased by an enormous amount. However, the ability to kill a level 3 monarch in an instant was something even the previous demon emperor, who had also awakened the Golden Crow bloodline, couldn't do. /n fanfic novels for every 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 2 left. Gemstone for every 100 power stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. Rocket fire. Also, if you want to read up to 10 advanced chapters of the story and support the project, check out my Patreon. My Patreon. Patreon.com/fanfic novels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next chapter. 32. Chapter 32, Flames of Vengeance. 2. Duke. Amid the shocked silence that permeated the air, a tragic cry rang out. Following that, an old man whose hair was half white rushed forward and stood in the spot where Duke Zhong had lost his life, his entire body trembling. This person was no stranger to everyone present. He was also from the illusory demon royal family and was known as Duke Han. He held the position of the highest seniority in Duke Zhong's palace and was its most senior representative furthermore. He was also Duke Zhong's uncle. He was at the 6th level of the sovereign profound realm, the foundation of the entire Duke Zhong palace. In the demon imperial city, both his power and position carried great weight. After Duke Zhong took over the management of the Duke Palace, he supported Duke Zhong from the shadows and became his guardian. With him around, even in the demon imperial city, where experts were as numerous as clouds, there was hardly anyone who could harm Duke Zhong. But today, he could only watch helplessly as Duke Zhong was instantly incinerated to ashes. He couldn't even think of stepping forward to protect him, as he hadn't even been able to react until Duke Zhong met his violent end. "Little Demon Empress," Duke Han shouted, as grief and anger intertwined in his voice. Although the Duke of my residence may have spoken out of turn, his crime was not worthy of death. Yet you were truly so cruel. A crime not punishable by death? The little demon empress said in a cold voice. Duke Huai sought to commit regicide, and every root of his clan deserves to be uprooted and burned. As Duke Huai's servile lackey, Duke Zhong deserves to die 10,000 times over. And to show disrespect to this empress? Even death would not be punishment enough. Duke Han, for the sake of the loyalty you showed to this empress's royal father, for now, I will not implicate you in his guilt. But if you speak another word in favor of Duke Zhong or Duke Huai, this empress will kill you as well. Duke Han's face contorted, but he suddenly let out a low roar. You killed my royal duke. If you have the courage, then you can kill this duke as well. The little demon empress's eyes, as dark as the night, narrowed faintly as she responded in a voice that carried a chilling promise of death that did not hesitate to pierce the souls of all. Since you wish to die, then this empress will help you achieve your goal. You favored Duke Zhong in his treachery, so you too are punishable by death. Before the little demon empress's voice had even fallen, a piercing, icy sensation had already spread through Duke Han's entire body. He was a dignified 6th-level monarch, yet in that very instant, he suddenly felt an imminent calamity descending upon him. A fear he had never felt before in his life grew frantically, swelling like an awakened demon gnawing at his soul. He never would have thought that the little demon empress would actually deliver a fatal blow to him without even a shred of hesitation. He certainly never would have dreamed that, given his own strength, he would actually feel such acute dread after the mere killing intent of the little demon empress locked onto him. The others naturally did not know that under the little demon empress's cold and cruel pronouncement, Duke Han's confidence had nearly collapsed. He fiercely gritted his teeth and launched himself into the air. He let out a stifled roar as he frantically concentrated all the profound energy in his body and exploded toward the little demon empress. Little demon empress, be careful, Su Xiangnan shouted in alarm. Duke Han was considered an expert even among monarchs, and the little demon empress from 4 months ago was absolutely no match for him. But as Su Xiangnan's cry had just left his mouth, a miserable, shrill scream that resembled a pig being slaughtered cut through the air of nearly the entire demon imperial city. After a frantic convulsion, Duke Han, who had just launched himself into the air, fell miserably back to the ground. A completely hoarse scream pierced the air, as if he were suffering the most cruel torture in the world. The entire audience widened their eyes in alarm and fear. They could clearly see that Duke Han's hands were being burned by two beams of golden scarlet flames. Golden crow flames. These two beams of golden crow flames were neither vigorous nor frantic, neither slow nor fast, neither hot nor blazing. They merely continued to burn. And in the blink of an eye, they burned nearly all the flesh from the hands of this sixth-level monarch, exposing the white bones beneath. Following that, even the white bones began to glow brightly as they were burned. And both of Duke Han's hands had completely vanished from the tips of his arms. Argurk! Duke Han screamed as if his life depended on it and rolled frantically around, as if desperately trying to use his profound energy to resist these devouring flames. But the two beams of golden scarlet flames that seemed so mild continued to burn steadily, unimpeded in any way. Following his frantic rolling and thrashing, the golden scarlet flames had even spread to his chest, waist, and thighs. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 10 beams of golden scarlet flames on his body, and his arm had already been burned to half its original length. Duke Han's miserable screams were as sorrowful and shrill as the wails of a demon from the depths of hell. His entire body writhed and twisted spasmodically, his eyes nearly popping out of their sockets from the sheer pain, and the blue veins on his forehead visibly bulged and twisted like worms. The golden scarlet flames still maintained their initial speed as they burned silently. They were so mild they almost seemed graceful. Yet they devoured the body of a monarch, inch by inch. All of Duke Han's efforts and his mighty profound strength as a sixth-level monarch were utterly unable to stop or hinder these flames. Vast shock and fear appeared on the faces of all those present. Duke Han was a member of the illusory demon royal family. His body contained a faint amount of the Golden Crow's bloodline, and he also cultivated a fire-based profound art. In terms of fire, his body also had extremely strong resistance to it. Moreover, as a sixth-level monarch, he possessed a profound strength that was seen as divine by most profound practitioners. But under these two small beams of flames, in a span of 12 breaths, an entire third of his body had vanished. Duke Han, a member of Duke Zhong's palace, extended a violently trembling arm, as if wanting to think of a way to extinguish the flames on Duke Han's body. Don't go! Someone tenaciously held him back and retreated desperately after that. If they came into contact with a flame strong enough to burn a sixth-level monarch's body to ashes, they were simply courting death. Everyone's eyes widened in shock and horror, their mouths agape, watching Duke Han frantically writhe and twist his body as he burned, and hearing his miserable and lamentable wails, made everyone's bodies turn completely cold. In that instant, they even felt as if they had been plunged into purgatory, where they were watching a sinner being baptized in the flames of purgatory as their just reward. Little demon empress, spare me. Little demon empress, spare me. Ah, you wahe. No one could imagine how great the pain must have been to make a sixth-level monarch let out such a miserable scream, to make a sixth-level monarch beg in such an utterly disgraceful, undignified manner. The golden scarlet flames spread across his entire body, and gradually, all his struggles and screams were completely devoured by the flames. When those golden scarlet flames finally extinguished, Duke Han's body had completely vanished from that place, just like Duke Zhong, who had recently died. Not a single trace of his remains was left. Throughout the entire process, aspects of shock and horror appeared on the faces and eyes of the entire audience and did not dissipate in the slightest. In the entire great hall, only the little demon empress remained completely expressionless from beginning to end. It was as if she were witnessing a spectacle that was simply too commonplace. Thud, among the group of people closest to where Duke Han had been, a ninth-level overlord from Duke Huai's palace was so paralyzed with fear that his body knelt on the ground. The other profound practitioners, the lowest being thrones and the highest being monarchs, all had horror completely etched into their pupils. As unparalleled and incomparable existences in the eyes of ordinary people, this was the first time in their lives that they felt they were truly so insignificant. This is impossible. Duke Huai's pupils continued to contract as he refused to believe what he was witnessing, refused to believe that such power existed in this world, and especially refused to believe that this power actually belonged to the little demon empress. What kind of power is this? Mu Yubai desperately sucked in cold air, as someone fiercely loyal to the demon emperor clan. Seeing the little demon empress, who had returned, become so powerful should have made him wild with joy. But the scene he had just witnessed, the painful and terrifying death of a sixth-level monarch, actually made the shock and fear in his heart surpass his admiration and joy, because this was fundamentally a kind of terrifying power that shouldn't exist in this world. Even if her bloodline has awakened, it still shouldn't be terrifying to this extent. Greatest ambition under heaven's eyes were wide open as he murmured to himself in a thoroughly dazed manner. This power, could it be some kind of special benevolence manifested by the Golden Crow's divine spirit? Yun Qinghong's eyes became slightly numb, The power he had just witnessed surpassed all his knowledge or understanding. This was no longer a power that could be categorized as strong, it could be said to be heaven-defying. Renzu shook his head and spoke. Father, you're not wrong, but you're not entirely right either. His black eyes rested on the little demon empress, her delicate figure reflected in his dark pupils. There was something complex in that gaze. Respect, concern, and a hint of complicity. She had asked him to stay on the sidelines, so that the vengeance would be hers. That's why he restrained himself and helped her with a few tricks. After all, if he moved, he could end all her enemies with one hand, but she wanted them to suffer as much as possible. On the other hand, everyone was stunned by the power displayed by the little demon empress, but no one knew that her current power came from her thirst for vengeance, and she had given her own life in exchange for it, and if one really wanted to include it, it also came at the cost of her virginity. Yun He, Yun Jiang, Yun Shi. The little demon empress spoke again, and those short 6 words were like icy needles piercing through the hearts and souls of everyone present, making their entire bodies freeze from the cold. Quickly seize Du Kuai. If anyone dares to interfere, this empress will kill that person. If one person blocks me, this empress will kill one person. If 100 people block me, this empress will kill 100 people. If the entire world blocks me, this empress will baptize this world in its blood. That impartial and blood-cold voice powerfully shook the souls of everyone present. At that moment, everyone came to the incomparably clear realization that the little demon empress who returned after 4 months was definitely not the little demon empress they were familiar with. Yes, the same response was given, but the tone became completely different from before. The auras of these 3 great elders of the Yun family, who had been through countless trials and tribulations, immediately underwent great changes. 3 aged hands, filled with dense and robust lightning profound energy, extended directly toward Du Kuai. Before, when they rushed toward Du Kuai, whether in movement or power, they were still 30% conservative and 70% apprehensive. But now, they were extremely fierce and severe, their profound energy surging rapidly around them, carrying even the piercing sound of thunder. Who dares to touch His Highness? The number of experts Duke Huai had under him far surpassed the imagination of the common man. Without exaggerating in the slightest, it could be said that more than 70% of the monarchs in the Demon Imperial City had joined Duke Huai's faction. Today was the grand ceremony of Duke Huai's ascension. So he had a large number of experts by his side. Duke Huai himself was also a mid-stage monarch, so each of the people qualified to be his bodyguards were the strongest among the strong in the illusory demon realm. The weakest among them was also a mid-stage monarch. This kind of supreme power, which ordinary people might not see even once in their lifetime and which was seen as a fairy tale in their eyes. Today alone, in this demon imperial hall, Duke Huai had 7% of such people by his side. This was counting only his personal bodyguards, who were fiercely loyal to Duke Huai's palace. It categorically did not take into account the pinnacle influences like the guardian families and the other duke palaces that had already run to his side. When the 3 great elders of the Yun family acted, 4 differently dressed people appeared out of nowhere behind Duke Huai and blocked their advance, colliding abruptly with the 3 great elders. Each of these people was flooded with an extremely robust and dense aura. It was actually an aura so strong that it completely matched the auras of Yun He, Yun Jiang, and Yun Shi. Lu Zhanfeng, Bai Jinghong, Tang Wanli, Xiao Qingshan, the 4 absolutes of the southern heaven, who shook the southern borders 700 years ago. From the corner of the great hall, an old person shouted in alarm, and the 4 names he uttered were like 4 thunderclaps in everyone's ears. In this world, if someone became a monarch, their name would shake the heavens. Especially the profound practitioners outside the Demon Imperial City, if they became monarchs, they would become exceptionally famous, and even after many generations, they would not be forgotten. The 4 absolutes of the southern heaven. Astonishment colored Yun Qinghong's face. Those were impressive people your grandfather used to mention often all those years ago. 700 years ago they had already become monarchs, and after that there was little news of them. I thought they had returned to their homeland to live in seclusion. But who would have thought they had already joined Duke Huai's palace? It seems that the ambitions of Duke Huai's palace originated much earlier than we even imagined. Renzu pondered calmly. This was already within his calculations. All these years, we never dared to underestimate the power of Duke Huai's palace. Yun Qinghong said, his brows tightly furrowed. But it was only in these 4 months that we became truly aware that the true power of Duke Huai's palace had far surpassed our previous estimates. In less than 3 days after the news of the little demon empress's death in the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley spread, the demon imperial city had already fallen completely under the control of Duke Huai's palace. We didn't even have a chance to react. Sigh. Renzu shook his head. Father, you don't need to feel so defeated. If it's just Duke Huai, he definitely wouldn't have this kind of capability. It's that Duke Ming, he's simply too terrifying. For the past 100 years, the entire illusory demon realm has been walking in the palm of his hand. Yet no one was aware of it. Everything that happened was all according to the plans he orchestrated. But he wasn't good enough. At the end of his words, he let out a faint sigh, almost as if bored, and his lips curved into a calm smile. Enough talk. It's time for me to stretch my muscles a bit. With those simple words, he took his first step toward the little demon empress. Zuer! Yun Qinghong couldn't hide the anxiety in his voice. He feared that in her ruthless state, the little demon empress might do something to him. His wife was more direct. Mu Yuro tightly gripped his arm, her teary eyes fixed on her son's figure. Renzu turned his head slightly, casting a serene glance at the two. Father, mother, don't worry. Your son is no longer the same as before. The calm in his voice was not arrogance but a certainty that overflowed from within. It was so firm that, for a moment, Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro felt their hearts settle, even against their own will. In the hall, all eyes converged on him. It was inevitable. That slender figure, the long black hair that fell like a cascade of silk to his waist, the eyes as deep as an unfathomable abyss. Renzu walked unhurriedly, but with each step, he seemed to erase the air around him, as if nothing else mattered. There was something in his presence that made hearts race, a cruel, untouchable, and hypnotic beauty. Some averted their eyes, frightened by their own thoughts. Others, without realizing, held their breath. Renzu walked until he was just a few steps from the little demon empress. The entire hall was in a deathly silence, as if even the air had stopped circulating. His black eyes rested on her with an unusual softness amidst the chaos. Sire, do you need my help to deal with these ants? The little demon empress, still surrounded by her icy and relentless aura, turned her face slightly. Her dark eyes glinted, but she soon huffed, looking away as if indifferent. Humph, I don't need your help. There was, in her tone, the typical arrogance of a tsundere, firm on the outside, even if her heart had wavered for a moment. Renzu smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach cruelty but carried a calm provocation. He looked toward the group of enemies still surrounding the scene, Du Kuai, his bodyguards, and all the monarchs under his command. It's impossible indeed, he said, as if commenting on something obvious. What you asked cannot be done on my part. After all, as your husband, I have an obligation to help you at least a little. Those words, spoken in a serene tone, fell like a thunderclap. /N fanfic novels for every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 2 left. Gemstone 4 every 100 power stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. Rocket Fire. Also, if you want to read up to 10 advanced chapters of the story and support the project, check out my Patreon. My Patreon. Patreon.com/fanficnovels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next chapter. 33. Chapter 33, Flames of Vengeance. 3. The entire hall froze. Renzu's words echoed like a muffled thunder, each syllable resonating in everyone's minds as if they were direct blows to the heart. Husband. That simple word made the air in the grand hall tremble more than any attack of profound energy. Du Kuai staggered back a step, cold sweat dripping down his temple. His expression, already distorted by shock, became even more grotesque. This is impossible, he murmured, his voice faltering. How could the little demon empress acknowledge a piece of trash as her husband? Behind him, the monarchs who followed him, men who had carried prestige and power for centuries, now exchanged looks of complete terror. It can't be true. One of them let slip, his voice trembling. This is a lie, it has to be. The 3 elders of the Yun family, who had fought against enemies across countless generations, stood motionless, as if their souls had left their bodies for a moment. Their hands, which glowed with the energy of thunder, trembled slightly. Young patriarch, Yun, she muttered, almost unable to believe what his own eyes were seeing. This? Yun Jiang spoke in a faint voice, as if each word cost him breath. Yun, he merely clenched his fists, his gaze flickering between Renzu and the little demon empress, his heart beating faster than a drum. It was as if the world had turned upside down in a single instant. The shock was so great that they stopped fighting against the for absolutes of the southern sky, who were equally stunned by this revelation. Husband? One of the elders nearly bit his tongue from stuttering so much. Yun Qinghong's face went pale in an instant, and Mu Yuro brought her hands to her mouth, incredulous. Their hearts raced in panic. This wasn't just boldness, it was a direct offense. Even insinuating such a thing was enough to condemn an entire family to destruction. And yet, their own son had spoken those words in front of everyone present, without a trace of hesitation. Zuer! Yun Qinghong jumped in alarm, his voice trembling with desperation. What are you saying? Do you realize how offensive this is to Her Majesty? Mu Yuro gripped her husband's arm so tightly that her nails dug into his skin. Her eyes were brimming with tears, almost silently pleading for Renzu to immediately retract his words, for it to be just a fleeting provocation. No one could blame them. After all, the little demon empress had just unleashed an overwhelming power, so suffocating that it seemed to distort the very air around her. Her reputation for cruelty was known to all, and no one would dare doubt her willingness to follow through on any threat. In the face of that cold gaze and an aura that resembled that of an enraged deity, it was impossible not to shudder. And, to everyone's horror, their son had just uttered words that sounded like a death sentence. But Renzu only maintained that calm smile and indifferent expression. The audience, however, erupted into hushed murmurs. Some choked, others laughed in disbelief, as if it were a joke too absurd to even comment on. There were also those who simply stood paralyzed, unsure whether to laugh, tremble, or kneel on the spot. This can only be madness. Someone envious of the young man's appearance whispered, their voice hoarse. The little demon empress would never allow something like this. He's a dead man. But then, the entire hall fell silent again. Because, after a few seconds that seemed eternal, the little demon empress slightly turned her face, her dark gaze meeting Renzu's. Her silence was sharper than any blade. Finally, she let out a huff, averting her eyes, her cheeks taking on an almost imperceptible flush, and her icy, yet embarrassed voice echoed. Do as you please. Those 4 words fell like a final verdict. If there had been shock before, now the hall plunged into absolute chaos of disbelief. It was as if everyone had just witnessed the impossible take form before their eyes. My God, did I hear that right? He said husband. Her husband. And she didn't deny it? Yes, I thought I was dreaming, but the little demon empress. Agreed. I saw it. She didn't deny him. She even blushed. She blushed. When has anyone ever seen Her Majesty blush in front of a man? If he really is her husband. Then, from now on, who would dare disobey this young man? On the other side, greatest ambition under the heavens, stared wide-eyed, mouth agape, unable to hide his shock. He remembered Renzu well, who always appeared alongside his daughter, number 7 under heaven, before disappearing for an entire year. That young man the world called useless. Had he really conquered the unattainable woman? Not only had he become more handsome, Mu Yubai clenched his fists tightly, veins bulging on his forehead. His voice rumbled heavily. That boy is my sister's son. To think that someone called useless by the Yun family would become the little demon empress's man. The Yun family, in turn, was in absolute shock. He's the same young patriarch who couldn't awaken the profound handle? The one we all called useless? Now, he's the little demon empress's husband. This can't be real. The voices mingled with envy, fear, and fascination. Some wanted to deny it, others couldn't stop trembling. Yun Qinghong was utterly stunned. His heart wavered violently between the terror that their entire family would be condemned for those words and an irrational pride he could barely control. The son who had been called trash by the clan for so long, the young man everyone thought incapable of even protecting himself, now stood before all as the man who had conquered the little demon empress. But he wasn't the only one with complex emotions. Mu Yuro was no different. Her hands trembled so much they could barely hold her husband's arm, and her tear-filled eyes were on the verge of overflowing. The shock was too overwhelming. How could it not be? Before everyone, their son had just been acknowledged by the little demon empress as her husband. The chaos didn't have time to dissipate. Du Kuai, though shaken to his core, would not let the situation slip from his control. His face contorted with rage, and his voice thundered like a dark storm. What are you all standing there for? Kill these traitors now. No matter the cost. His roar snapped everyone back to reality. The disbelief was swallowed by the imminent slaughter. Yes, Your Majesty. The 4 absolutes of the southern sky charged forward like living tempests, their bodies unleashing a pressure so overwhelming it seemed to tear the air itself. They immediately used their strongest attacks to try to kill the boy and the little demon empress. But before their attacks could reach Renzu and the little demon empress, 3 figures appeared before them like steel walls. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted as Yun Jiang, Yun He, and Yun Shi raised their arms, thunderous energy pouring out like raging rivers, forming an electric barrier that collided with the 4 murderous auras simultaneously. The impact unleashed waves of energy that shattered the hall's floor into pieces and cracked entire columns. The four absolutes of the southern sky faced the three great elders of the Yun family. But before the seven monarchs could clash again, a distortion in the air twisted into a massive vortex. The movements of the three great elders slowed instantly at that moment, as the air above them warped once more, and three more figures appeared from the void. As they descended explosively to the ground, their auras were practically no less formidable than those of the four absolutes of the southern sky. 10 great monarchs, all in the mid or late stages, their auras mingled with one another, like waves of a vast ocean, concealing the sky and covering the earth. The combined power of 7 monarchs working together. That was a power ordinary people wouldn't even dare imagine. Outside the demon imperial city, the rest of the regions within the illusory demon realm, even the greatest heavenly demon city, wouldn't be able to produce 7 monarchs. Though the 3 great elders of the Yun family were strong, they definitely wouldn't be able to approach Du Kuai if he were under the protection of 7 late-stage monarchs. It would be difficult to use the profound handle on him to uncover the truth about the events of the past 100 years through his mind. At that moment, a muffled sound echoed like the beating of a heart. The air trembled, and a vivid, flaming red mark appeared on Renzu's forehead, glowing like the rising sun. It was the same mark that shone on the little demon empress's forehead. Golden crow flames erupted from his body, enveloping him completely. His aura burned like the sun itself, so intense that the space around him began to distort. Sea crow, golden crow flames? Impossible. This can only be a mistake. The divine flames. They're exclusive to the royal bloodline. Only the imperial family can. The voices were of absolute disbelief, but there was no time for more. They didn't have time to process any kind of response to this. A scorching aura, too hot to bear, assaulted the air and descended upon the hall like a cataclysm. It was, without a doubt, an aura of inextinguishable fire, but paradoxically, while it brought suffocating heat, it made every spectator feel an icy chill run down their spine. The space warped, rippling like a desert in flames. Under astonished gazes, Renzu's figure slowly emerged between the 3 great elders of the Yun family and the 7 monarchs protecting Du Kuai. Around his body, the colossal silhouette of a scarlet golden crow appeared for an instant. Immediately after, it erupted into a blazing splendor that swept through the hall, as if 1,000 suns had been ignited at once. In a matter of a second, the grand hall and everything within the audience's sight was bathed in incandescent red. Third stage of the golden crow's burning world, scorching sun rupture. In the air that had turned scarlet red, the infinite and boundless golden crow flames rapidly gathered, forming the searing, eye-burning, yet divine and sacred figure of the golden crow. It tore the scarlet world to pieces, pierced through space, and flew toward the 7 monarchs standing in front of Du Kuai. In an instant, the combined power of those 7 monarchs, strong enough to destroy a city, vanished into the air. The world around them began to fracture into countless tiny pieces, followed by the complete collapse of space. In that moment, their visions and thoughts were occupied by no other existence. Only that infinite sea of scarlet flames. The messages their powerful mental energies conveyed were that these flames had already invaded their bodies and even their souls. Under these flames, their monarch-level spiritual and physical resistances were utterly useless, offering not even a shred of resistance. Bang! Amid the explosive, shattering sound, the firelight that filled the sky contracted and dispersed completely, and the 7 monarchs flew outward like 7 punctured sacks. Their heads, bodies, and limbs were entirely engulfed in scarlet golden flames. Even the souls within their bodies were being mercilessly burned by these flames. The 7 monarchs rolled frantically on the ground, groaning in anguished pain. They finally understood why Du Khan had let out such miserable, pitiful screams. The sensation of being burned by the golden crow flames was like countless blades slicing and carving every inch of flesh and every nerve in their bodies. Despite their mental strength, far greater than that of an ordinary person, they could endure for only a few breaths before wishing for instant death. The final attack of a monarch in desperation was originally something extremely terrifying, but these 7 monarchs only wept and groaned, not one of them launching a desperate attack that would unleash all their profound strength, because if they tried to activate their profound energy, it would be instantly incinerated. As for the experts from Du Kuai's palace, who were waiting in the shadows and preparing to rush forward to protect Du Kuai, they felt their bodies come to a rigid standstill, trembling like sieves, not daring to take another step forward. 10 breaths later, the crying and groaning quieted, and the little demon empress slowly raised her hand, casually compressing the flame in her palm. Bang! The golden crow flames burning on the bodies of the 7 monarchs exploded simultaneously and scattered into fragments of flame that filled the sky. The bodies within that conflagration followed the fate of those 3 fragments, flying from the golden crow flames and dispersed completely. The 7 experts from Duke Huai's palace. These men, who carried titles and glories forged in blood, died miserably, unable to offer even a breath of resistance. None of them were insignificant figures. They were all true monarchs. In the demon imperial city, a single monarch was already a rarity greater than a phoenix feather. The death of even one, even the weakest, could plunge the entire illusory demon realm into chaos. But there, before everyone's eyes, in a single blink, 7 monarchs had perished. All were annihilated horrifically under Renzu's flames. And the most terrifying part was the simplicity of the process. There was no prolonged confrontation, no clash of powers capable of shaking continents, nor explosions that would tear apart the heavens and earth. No, it was quick, direct, and cruel. The entire scene lasted but a moment, and the massacre was so natural, so casual, that it seemed no more than crushing 9 ants under the sole of a foot. Duke Huai's pupils had long since contracted to pinpricks, and the calm he once possessed had completely vanished, replaced by abject terror. The sudden return of the little demon empress may have left him confused and astonished, but it wasn't enough to make him feel powerless, because even if he faced the little demon empress, he had an overwhelming advantage in power. Even with Renzu, who was so powerful that even he had lost to him 4 months ago, he had no worries. But after this brief lapse of time, the scenario had been completely overturned, and both Renzu and the little demon empress had displayed a power thrown like a nightmare before his eyes. He had always thought his own father, Duke Ming, was invincible under the heavens. Though he had never seen the true limits of Duke Ming's power, he could definitely confirm that his own father, Duke Ming, could absolutely send 7 mid- and late-stage monarchs to their deaths in a single move. This was a power that supposedly wasn't meant to exist in this world, a power that had never appeared before in the history of the illusory demon realm. The Duke palaces that had thrown in their lot with Duke Huai were utterly stupefied. The Helion, Qiong, Jufeng, Nangong, Lin, Shao, and by clans had completely lost their voices, their throats merely twitching in agitation. These 7 awe-inspiring patriarchs of these families were drenched in cold sweat, and for some, even their legs began to tremble in fear. Even the Duke palaces and guardian families devoted to the Demon Emperor clan had fallen silent out of fear, and none dared to breathe. Duke Zhong was dead. Duke Han had fallen to the little demon empress, and 7 monarchs were annihilated in a single move by her alleged husband. This was the heaviest and most terrifying display of deterrence in the entire history of the illusory demon realm. What are you waiting for? Capture Duke Huai immediately! The little demon empress's cold shout snapped the 3 great elders out of their dazed stares, and they once again rushed toward the shaken Duke Huai. This time, though many auras appeared in the space around Duke Huai, no one stepped forward to block the way. Becoming a monarch was the highest goal every profound practitioner dreamed of achieving. Each monarch was the product of countless amounts of time, effort, and resources spent reaching that goal, in addition to having opportunities that could only be given, not begged for. Upon reaching that level, they thought they no longer needed to fear anything, for they had reached the pinnacle of heaven and earth, and nothing could destroy them. But today, to their infinite shock and horror, they discovered that, in front of the young man accompanying the little demon empress, they were as insignificant as dust, and before him, there was practically no difference between them and a newborn. They could die, but if a monarch died, they wanted to die in a desperate struggle, leaving the world in a way that would shake it. But those 7 monarchs who died at Renzu's hands had died incomparably, lamentably, and pathetically. With these 7 examples leading, anyone who rushed to protect Duke Huai would meet a similar end. So who would accept using the body of a monarch, granted a life of glory, to bear such a burden? It would only be incineration in vain. Duke Huai, surrender without resistance. Amid the response, the profound handles of the 3 great elders appeared and firmly locked onto Duke Huai, who had completely lost his wits. 3 powerful streams of lightning, profound energy sealed Duke Huai's movements from all directions. Duke Huai seemed to have lost all his courage and merely stood there in confusion, his eyes incomparably dark. He didn't fight back and was easily subdued by Yunhe's charge. Duke Huai. Within Duke Huai's palace, those directly related and previously overbearingly arrogant dukes, as well as those top experts, all had dilated pupils and shrank back in fear. They watched helplessly as Duke Huai was captured by the 3 great elders of the Yun family, but not one dared to advance. Renzu appeared beside the little demon empress in an instant. He stood with his back to them, and everyone felt as if an icy blade was pressed against their necks. If they dared make any rash moves, they would die without a place to be buried. Royal father, save my royal father. Hurry and save my royal father. Duke Huiyi shouted hoarsely, his lips trembling uncontrollably. Royal father is the new emperor of the illusory demon realm. Why aren't you protecting him? Protect him. Duke Huiyi, the son of Du Kuai, shouted. But it was clear that despite the incomparably great power Du Kuai possessed and the countless peak experts gathered at his side, not one dared to move. At that moment, the little demon empress slowly turned her body, her dark and cold gaze falling on Du Kuiyi. Oh! In that instant, it was as if a venomous snake had lunged at Du Kuiyi. His entire body trembled as stifled screams filled with fear and alarm poured from his mouth, and he scrambled backward in an utterly pathetic manner, tripping over himself in the process. Don't kill this Duke! Don't kill this Duke! This Duke didn't do anything. Don't kill this Duke! Under the terror of facing true danger to his life, Hui Yi, who normally considered himself above the rest of the world, displayed an appearance no different from an ordinary person fearing for their life. No, in fact, it was even more pathetic. His entire body lay paralyzed on the ground, barely able to stand. His body trembled fiercely, and his face was incomparably pale, as if all the blood had been drained from him, and the members of Duke Huai's palace surrounding him quickly backed away, as if they had sensed a foul stench spreading rapidly. This Duke Hui Yi was so terrified that he had wet his own pants. The little demon empress withdrew her gaze. This kind of trash wasn't worth dealing with personally. Merely continuing to look at him was sullying her own eyes. Despite the situation at hand, no one thought to laugh. Looking at the current Duke Hui Yi, no one could feel even a shred of reverence for him, only pity and contempt. The expressions of the members of Duke Huai's palace were filled with shame and lamentation, to the point that even when Duke Hui Ye's filthy bodily fluids had formed a puddle beneath him, no one went to help him up from the ground. Yun He, Yun Jiang, and Yun Shi worked together and quickly restrained Duke Huai's profound energy, who showed no resistance whatsoever. Yun He grabbed Duke Huai and dragged him before the little demon empress, bowing as he said, Duke Huai has been captured. I invite the little demon empress to deal with this criminal. /N. Hello, everyone. I have some amazing news to share with you. From now on, all of our stories, Blue Lock, Against the Gods, and High School DxD, will have daily updates from Monday to Friday on Patreon. That's right. One new chapter every day, all week long, for those who want to follow everything in real time. But don't worry. The posts on Webnovel will continue as usual. We'll have 3 chapters per week for each story. So, if you prefer to read at a more relaxed pace, feel free to keep supporting here on Webnovel. However, if you want to dive deeper into the stories and not miss a single detail, Patreon is the place to be. In 1 month, you'll have 8 more chapters than the Webnovel readers, plus 20 extra chapters of DxD, 5 of Blue Lock, and 10 of Against the Gods. All exclusive to Patreon. And the best part, in 3 months, Patreon subscribers will have 24 brand new chapters of extra content. And there's more. On Patreon, besides the daily updates, you'll also get exclusive access to 3 brand new stories that will only be available there. They are Sparkles, a new adventure in the fairy tale universe, full of action and emotion. Drop of Blood, a dark and captivating plot inspired by the Vampire Diaries. Fire, and a brand new high school DxD story, completely original and exclusive to Patreon subscribers. So, if you've been waiting for the perfect time to support and follow everything up close, that time is now. Thank you so much for all your support. You guys are amazing and make all of this possible. Fanfic novels for every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. Gemstone for every 100 power stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. Rocket Fire. Also, if you want to read up to 20 advanced chapters of the story and support the project, check out my Patreon. My Patreon. Patreon.com/fanficnovels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next chapter. 34. Chapter 34. Ironic. Yun He hurled Duke Huai before the little demon empress, his profound energy sealed in chains of thunder. But, amid that suffocating silence, the Duke's eyes suddenly blazed with a fiercely sinister and mad scarlet light. His profound energy had clearly been blocked, yet his body abruptly erupted with crimson-black flames of the fallen demon. The suddenly ignited flames of the fallen demon were incomparably uncontrollable and spread directly for approximately dozens of meters, forcing back Yun He, Yun Jiang, and Yun Shi, who had all been caught unprepared. No! I will not be humiliated like this! He roared, tearing at his throat in despair. He turned abruptly, ignoring Renzu and the little demon empress, aiming directly at Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro. You damned ones are the root of this calamity. Die with me! Black flames took the form of a lightning-like bolt of condensed energy, dense and sharp as the blade of a death god, and shot toward the two. Space ruptured in its path, leaving a trail of distorted cracks. Careful! Mu Fian, Mu Yubai, Su Xiangnan, Yun Weitian. and the others all paled in alarm and shouted hoarsely. But no one had thought that Du Kuai, whose profound energy had clearly been blocked, would be able to instantly break free from that seal. Even if they wanted to help now, it was already too late. You're... Yun Qinghong widened his eyes, pulling Mu Yuro behind him, but there was no time. That attack from a monarch at the peak of madness was too fast. The entire hall seemed to hold its breath. Many had already closed their eyes, certain they would witness a bloodbath. But, in the next instant, the world flashed. Boom! A massive palm, made of pure profound energy, condensed and crystalline like jade, appeared in the path of the attack. It crushed the black bolt in a single motion, dissipating it like dust under sunlight. Ridiculous! Renzu's voice rang out cold as a sword's edge. All he did to stop that attack was use his refined control over profound energy to form a hand and grasp it. It was not a profound art or anything of the sort. No one noticed when he moved. In one instant, he was still beside the little demon empress. In the next, he stood in front of his parents, the palm still raised in the air, having blocked the entire attack. His eyes, black as eternal night, stared at Du Kuai. You dared to raise a hand against my parents? Before anyone could breathe, Renzu vanished from his position. It was so fast that even the monarchs present could not follow. It seemed like a mere blink of an eye. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Du Kuai. Crack! A dry kick struck the duke's knee, shattering it in a grotesque snap that echoed through the hall. The scream of pain that escaped his mouth was immediately cut off by a heavy slap to his face, sending blood and teeth flying through the air. The impact was so strong that the duke's body spun uncontrollably before crashing back to the ground like an empty sack. Before he could even touch the floor, Renzu raised his foot and drove it into the enemy's chest, pinning him to the ground. The entire hall trembled with the dull sound of the impact. Flames of the fallen demon still burned around Huai's body, but they dissipated in an instant as a wave of profound lightning energy coursed through him. Pure and unbreakable blue thunder chains slithered over him, sealing every drop of his profound energy, every thread of resistance. He swiftly applied his profound art of the 9-star Thunder King, the essentials of the first movement, to seal Du Kuai's cultivation. Du Kuai writhed, spitting blood, his eyes wide with pain and terror. He tried to scream, but only a choked wheeze escaped his mutilated throat. Your Highness! Du Kuai was explosively struck, flying away, the spurting blood a horrifying sight. More than a dozen experts from Du Kuai Palace moved forward at the same time, wanting to catch him. However, at the same moment the little demon empress intervened. A dazzling and blazing flame soared to the heavens like an enraged flame serpent. It coiled tightly around Du Kuai. With a flick of her wrist, the fire serpent hissed, then abruptly slammed downward, viciously crushing Du Kuai into the ground before leaping back to the little demon empress. The strong odor of intensely burning flesh permeated the entire demon imperial palace. All those from Du Kuai Palace who wanted to save Du Kuai trembled, retreating as if struck by lightning, not daring to move again. Renzu simply ignored all of them and kicked Du Kuai toward the elders of his family, who quickly intercepted him and brought him before the little demon empress again. She gave him a profound look in his direction before he winked at her, causing her to huff with a faint blush on her cheeks. At this moment Mu Fian, with a firm expression, approached his grandson and placed his heavy, warm hand on the young man's shoulder. Good, good, very good, he said, his voice vibrating with restrained emotion. Zuer, you not only protected your parents in front of everyone, but also showed the world that the blood of our lineage bows to no one. Renzu merely lowered his eyes and replied as if none of it were noteworthy. I only did what any son would do. Mu Fian laughed, satisfied, and squeezed the young man's shoulder even harder. Ho ho ho, the young patriarch should not be so modest. Yun Duanshui interjected with a wide smile, looking around at the others. Everyone here witnessed it clearly. In the past, the patriarch was celebrated as the youngest monarch in the history of the illusory demon realm. But now, the young patriarch is even younger, killed 7 monarchs in a single instant and gravely injured Du Kuai in front of everyone. He has completely surpassed the patriarch. For the Yun family, this is simply inestimable fortune. All from the Yun family who were gathering behind nodded their heads in excitement. Their eyes were full of pride. The gazes they cast at Renzu were incomparably fervent. Ironic. Everyone there seemed to have forgotten the years when they called the young man trash, the unworthy son of the Yun family, the youth who would never be able to awaken the profound handle. They whispered behind Yun Qinghong's back, murmuring that his heir was nothing more than an adopted one. Indeed, strength was everything in this world. With the same speed they spat contempt. They swallowed pride and bowed their heads in silence. The gazes that were once scornful were now reverent and fearful. Automatically, everyone came to respect Renzu. Not out of kindness, not out of friendship, but because they recognized the cruel truth of this world. Only the one with absolute power could dictate the rules. Zuer, What you used just now to kill those 7 monarchs. Was it the golden crow flame? Mu Yubai stepped forward and asked what everyone wanted to ask after seeing it once. The golden flame that Renzu ignited was filled with an incomparably dense golden crow aura. As members of the guardian families, how could they not be familiar with it? Yes, Renzu agreed casually. When Sai and I ended up in the Golden Crow ancestral land, the Golden Crow divine spirit saved us. Heh. The Demon Emperor clan is, after all, the only heir to the Golden Crow spirit in this world. How could the Golden Crow divine spirit allow the Demon Emperor clan to be exterminated? After the Golden Crow spirit saved us, it not only awakened the little Demon Empress's Golden Crow bloodline, but also granted her unparalleled divine power. Also, in remembrance of our Yun clan's unparalleled loyalty to the Demon Emperor clan, it bestowed the Golden Crow bloodline upon me, and allowed me to cultivate the Golden Crow's burning world record. That is how I increased my strength so much. His eyes gleamed slightly as he spoke, and his expression was full of sincerity that was hard to ignore. Renzu raised his head, then said, although the Golden Crow divine spirit has never interfered in the affairs of our illusory demon realm, everything that has happened in recent years in Demon Imperial City was witnessed by it. It is perfectly clear who is loyal and who is not. Although the Golden Crow divine spirit granted the Golden Crow bloodline to me as an individual, it is actually a reward for our entire Yun family. As for those so-called guardians, those who forgot their ancestors and turned their backs on the clan, despicable and cunning, the Golden Crow divine spirit will deliver divine punishment sooner or later. Good. Mu Fian gripped Renzu's shoulder firmly. Your Yun family deserves such benevolence. You, my good grandson, among the Yun family, are the most worthy. The Golden Crow divine spirit is certainly omniscient. Mu Fian said this while raising his head to laugh sincerely. Everyone from the Yun family had expressions of unrestrained joy. Several of the Yun family elders were excited to the point of their entire bodies trembling, looking to the heavens, as if they could not help but kneel. I thank the Golden Crow divine spirit for this benevolence. Old patriarch, do you see this? Renzu did not suppress his voice in the slightest. Everyone in the hall heard clearly what he said. The words he spoke were originally meant for everyone to hear. His goal was to tell everyone this. The Demon Emperor clan has always been under the protection of the Golden Crow divine spirit. The Golden Crow was the sacred divine beast of the illusory demon realm, and the Demon Emperor clan was the heir to the Golden Crow bloodline. Only, the Golden Crow spirit had always existed within the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley, never interfering in external affairs for tens of thousands of years. Even now, in their daily lives, people still offered respects and conducted ceremonial rites to the Golden Crow. However, subconsciously, they did not consider the Demon Emperor clan to be under the protection of the Golden Crow spirit, so even their reverence gradually diminished over the years. His words, however, left a profound mark on everyone's hearts, that the Golden Crow divine spirit had always been protecting the Demon Emperor clan. Once that psychological mark was left, the reverence toward the Demon Emperor clan in the illusory demon realm would multiply countless times. It would be difficult to find anyone who dared to think of rebelling. The atmosphere inside the Demon Imperial Hall experienced a sudden change for a moment. Those who had long defected to Duke Huai Palace suddenly distanced themselves, their faces filled with profound terror. The 7 patriarchs and dukes present all began to sweat profusely. Looking at the devastated state Duke Huai was in on the ground, along with the members of Duke Huai Palace who were rigid with fear, Jifang Kuei and Qiang Bailey, who had slightly weaker psychological resilience, began to waver. Both legs turned soft, nearly falling directly to the ground many times. Also, the way people viewed the Yun family changed drastically. Everyone present had witnessed very clearly the Golden Crow flames that Renzu ignited. And it was not simply a case of bloodline bestowal. This was because after the Demon Emperor clan, a second family that inherited the Golden Crow bloodline had been born. Moreover, because the little Demon Empress was the last remaining person of the Demon Emperor clan, and a woman at that, the Demon Emperor clan was fated to perish. Instead, Renzu, who also possessed the Golden Crow bloodline, could continue to pass it on. This meant that after the little Demon Empress, those who possessed the Golden Crow bloodline and power would be the Yun family. This would mean that the Yun family would be the ones to receive the protection of the Golden Crow divine spirit. Anyone would know what that meant. Amid the commotion, as reverences, fears, and whispers spread through the hall, 2 figures pushed through the crowd. Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro approached their son, their steps still somewhat trembling after the deadly scene that had nearly claimed them seconds ago. Mu Yuro was the first to speak, her soft voice carrying both incredulity and a certain overflowing pride she could not disguise. Zuer, so that's why you declared yourself the husband of the little Demon Empress here and now? The entire hall, already attentive, plunged into even deeper silence. Everyone wanted to hear the answer. Renzu, however, merely raised an eyebrow and let out a teasing half-smile. Humph. Of course not. He replied in an almost nonchalant tone, as if the pressure of thousands of gazes affected him not at all. It was my irresistible charm that conquered her. Renzu then softened his smile and completed, his firm voice echoing throughout the hall. But, in the end, it was not just that. The Golden Crow divine spirit declared us husband and wife. His words fell like thunder. An uproar swept through the hall, even the boldest patriarchs and dukes felt their hearts tremble. If even the Golden Crow divine spirit recognized that union, then there was no force in the illusory demon realm capable of contesting it. Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro exchanged a silent glance, and then Yun Qinghong nodded slowly, the gravity of his expression only highlighting the hidden emotion in his eyes. Mu Yuro, even shocked, could not contain a faint smile, a mix of tenderness and maternal pride. The little demon empress, still with flushed cheeks, shot a glaring look at Renzu, but deep down, she did not refute it. She quickly shifted her focus to vengeance. By this point, the elders holding Duke Huai would have allowed him to recover enough to suffer more at her hands later. Without even glancing at Duke Huai, who was beside her feet, emotionless words escaped her lips. Profound handle soul search. Her words captured everyone's attention. Although Duke Huai's injuries were not light, he was not in a state where he could not even stand. Forget standing, he could barely gasp for air and speak. Hearing the little demon empress's voice, the only thing he could do was open his eyes as wide as he possibly could. Wait a moment. An elder whose entire body emitted the aura of a monarch from Duke Huai Palace stood up. As a mediator from Duke Huai Palace, he clearly knew the consequences if Duke Huai submitted to the profound handle soul search in front of the realm's heroes. However, the moment he spoke, the little demon empress suddenly cast her icy gaze. He did not even finish his words before a blaze was hurled at his position, transforming into a flame python that coiled tightly around his body. Following that, boom! The flame python exploded, turning the elder's body into fragments of fire, scattering in the air. The speed at which the little demon empress attacked was incomparably terrifying. The moment the Duke Huai Palace elder opened his mouth, his entire body was burned to fragments. When people finally reacted, the terror from which they had just calmed presented itself before them again. Those around the elder collapsed, paralyzed on the ground, their terrified eyes were practically cracking. You may begin. Those three cold words struck icily into everyone's minds. She had absolutely no emotion on her face, absolutely no fluctuation, as if she had not just killed an immensely powerful monarch but merely burned a tiny insect. This time, no one from Duke Huai Palace made a sound. Everyone trembled, their courage destroyed again and again by fear and terror. The entire hall was silent to the point where a falling needle could be heard, even the sounds of breathing could not be heard. All attention was focused on them. Yun He, Yun Jiang, and Yun Shi moved forward. They were extremely careful when walking, afraid of making even the slightest sound. The little demon empress of today was simply far too terrifying. /n. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available. Fairy Tale, I Am Natsu Dragneel. The Vampire Diaries, I Am Sukuna. DxD, The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DxD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Iseijai Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart, my Patreon. Patreon.com/fanfic novels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. For every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. For every 100 Power Stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. 35. Chapter 35. Without any further doubt. Performing the soul-searching profound handle on a monarch, even one in the initial stages, would still be extremely difficult. However, Duke Huai was severely injured, burned by the little demon empress's golden crow flames, and his mind and soul had descended into complete chaos, leaving him fully suppressed by her. Neither his body nor his soul had any power to resist. Moreover, Yun He, Yun Jiang, and Yun Xie assaulted him with their profound handle, and it penetrated Duke Huai's soul in a single attempt. The pain and fierce expression on Duke Huai's face gradually disappeared, giving way to a loose and dazed appearance. His eyes also became weak and lifeless, like 2 empty holes. Little demon empress, Duke Huai has already been subjected to the soul-searching profound handle. If you have any questions, please ask them. He will reveal everything he knows without the ability to lie. As Yun He spoke, He bowed slightly and unconsciously moderated his breathing. Being just a few steps away from the little demon empress, that extremely oppressive aura made him feel as if all the blood in his body had stopped flowing. Initially, when he encountered the little demon empress or even met with the previous emperor, he had never felt this kind of sensation. As he finished, he cautiously stepped away. The 100,000 people gathered in the demon imperial hall fell completely silent, and all eyes focused on the little demon empress. Before she opened her mouth, no one dared utter a single sound. She had already been the little demon empress for 100 years, and her status should have elevated her to the ruler of the illusory demon realm, but today was the first time she truly became its master. Gender, age, qualifications, none of that mattered anymore. Whether she was the final descendant of the demon emperor or not mattered even less. Because at this moment, she possessed absolute strength. Besides Renzu, she was obviously the strongest person in that place. She had basically killed several monarchs casually. Regardless of the world, only someone who held absolute strength could become an absolute ruler, and only then could that person become a true emperor. This principle was something she had understood clearly since she was young. The 100 years she had ruled as the little demon empress also confirmed the truth of this principle for her, again and again. The little demon empress did not approach Du Kuai. Instead, she turned around and said in an apathetic voice, "Renzu, come and perform the interrogation." "Okay." Renzu seemed to have guessed that the little demon empress would do this, so he responded without the least bit of surprise. He walked toward Du Kuai who, 2 hours ago, had been making the world tremble as he was about to ascend to the demon emperor's throne. But now, he knelt there like a dog, his entire body covered in blood, his eyes lifeless and weak. Even an unarmed and defenseless citizen would feel pity for the current Du Kuai. Many of the pinnacle powers and enormous forces that his Du Kuai palace had bribed were still in the vicinity, but not a single person came forward to save him. In fact, not a single person even came forward to speak a word in his favor, because anyone who dared to do such a thing had already died terribly. The focus of all those gazes shifted to Renzu as he walked forward. The eyes of thousands fixed on him at the same time, and inevitably comparisons arose. His countenance, molded as if by a divine craftsman, united the unattainable coldness of eternal night with the scorching light of the flames he commanded. Every feature, from the black hair that seemed to absorb light to the abyssal pupils that devoured the soul, radiated a beauty that did not belong to mortals. He seemed less like a cultivator and more like an immortal who had descended to the world. And yet he was just a young man. The shock was so great that even the patriarchs and dukes present, men who carried centuries of experience and power, felt suffocated not by his strength, but by the overwhelming emotion of that impossible appearance. Unwittingly, many shifted their gaze to the little demon empress, who watched the scene with her black eyes. The number one of the illusory demon realm, the woman considered unattainable, perfect in her beauty and dignity, stood side by side with that young man. The two really form a perfect couple. This thought echoed in the hearts of practically everyone present. But soon came another, more silent, more bitter thought. Hidden in the depths of the minds of the men and women who looked at Renzu, he is infinitely more beautiful than her. If we're talking about dignity, is the little demon empress really worthy of him? No one would dare say such words out loud, but the seed of that doubt had already taken root. Even the proudest and most untouchable of flowers seemed to lose its shine before him. Renzu maintained his indifferent expression while inspecting his surroundings and boldly staring at all those gazes. After that, his eyebrows sank slightly, and he declared in a loud voice, "All those who are present here today must know that the soul-searching profound handle of my Yun family will make the mind of the person subjected to it wander, so the person will definitely not be in control of themselves. Any words he says will come from his own memory and will definitely not be false. I know that you must still have your doubts even though you saw the memory jade that I showed you before. But compared to my family's profound handle, which you have known for centuries how it works, it is still an unreliable technology." The memory jade that he had revealed before, containing records of what occurred for months ago, really showed scenes impossible to falsify with common techniques. However, the people gathered there were not mere naive spectators. If it were easy to deceive most of them, then they simply were not worthy of the positions they held in the illusory demon realm. It was natural that there were doubts. It was exactly for this reason that, when he mentioned the Yun family's profound handle, everyone held their breath. This unique technique of the Yun family was known throughout the illusory demon realm for its unique characteristic. When applied, the victim's consciousness was forced to wander through their own mind, without filters, without deceptions. There was no way to invent or manipulate responses. What emerged were pure, unaltered memories. Unlike the memory jade, which could be contested as something external, the profound handle could bring pure truth, and everyone knew that. After a pause to see everyone's reaction, he continued calmly, "Good. As you already must know, All of you need to listen carefully to what this Du Kuai will say, and see what kind of trash this person that you almost made the new sovereign of the illusory demon realm really is. This person for whom countless people were willing to abandon the little demon empress and fought tooth and nail to serve him. Renzu turned his body and looked at Du Kuai, while exclaiming coldly, Du Kuai, let me ask you, at that time, how exactly did those people from the profound sky continent suddenly manage to invade our illusory demon realm? The gathered crowd originally thought that Renzu would ask if he tried to harm the little demon empress in order to establish his villainy. But who would have thought that he actually asked a question that everyone knew the answer to? Because of that, the audience's faces immediately filled with astonishment. Du Kuai opened his lips and slowly uttered a response. It was my real father, with a dimensional transmission art. He informed the profound sky continent that the samsara mirror belonging to the demon emperor clan hid the secrets to advancing to the divine profound realm, and with that, he managed to seduce them to come, because he could not consciously control it. Du Kuai's voice was a bit hoarse, but it was clear enough for everyone to hear what he was saying. Every word he said was like a profound lightning bolt that quickly passed through a clear sky. They were so shocking that it made everyone's faces lose color from extreme horror. This is not possible. An old man staggered to his feet, his face full of alarm, and no matter what, he could not bring himself to believe the words he had just heard. The real father that Du Kuai spoke of was naturally none other than Duke Ming, who disappeared over 100 years ago and was only seen in Renzu's memory jade. That Duke Ming who had an extremely high profound cultivation and an extremely good reputation, who was always smiling. What's happening? The invasion of the profound sky continent was actually this. What exactly? The demon imperial hall immediately flew into an uproar, and the expression of every person present underwent a huge change, especially the guardian families and the various duke palaces. They were all so shocked that their eyes widened and their mouths gaped open, while their souls began to tremble. Each one of them began to detect that something was not normal. This was the Yun family's soul-searching profound handle, so anything said by Du Kuai could not be false. Perhaps, his crime was not as simple as merely attempting to commit regicide against the little demon empress. In the shadows of the Du Kuai palace, there was perhaps an even more terrifying scheme that was still hidden. The reactions of everyone present were naturally more than normal for Renzu. He stared directly at Du Kuai and continued, I will ask something else. The fact that the invaders from the profound sky continent knew our demon imperial city like the back of their hands and were able to come and go as they pleased. Was this due to the secret support of your Du Kuai palace? Yes. Du Kuai opened his mouth and slowly uttered a word. That simple and short word was undoubtedly a bomb thrown into the demon imperial hall. Renzu ignored the cries of shock that entered his ears and continued with an expressionless face. Now, honestly and sincerely tell everyone this. The previous demon emperor, how did he die? When Renzu suddenly asked this question, it made everyone immediately hold their breath. The previous demon emperor had personally pursued the invaders from the profound sky continent and, in his anger, he impulsively rushed into the teleportation formation to the profound sky continent. After that, all communication was lost. That was the truth that the people of the illusory demon realm all knew. But Renzu's question implied certain things, united with Du Kuai's previous answers. Both of these things caused a sensation of dread that covered the hearts and souls of everyone present. The answer to this question was a secret that Du Kuai could never reveal to anyone. But under the compulsion of the soul-searching profound handle, he could only obey blindly. It was my real father. He took advantage of the demon emperor's lack of precaution toward him, and struck him into the profound teleportation formation that would send him to the profound sky continent, making him travel directly to the other side of the spatial tunnel, to the heavenly power soul-suppressing formation, which was already waiting for him. Clamor. The entire great hall immediately exploded into chaos. Shock, fury, sadness, and incredulity filled every corner and nook, and even the people from the Du Kuai palace had expressions that were completely stupefied, for they did not dare to believe any of the words they had just heard. And the forces that swore loyalty to Du Kuai began to tremble. There was a considerable number of people who directly fainted to the ground, their entire bodies bathed in cold sweat. Abomination! Abomination! Mu Fian's fists were clenched so tightly that every joint in his hand turned white. It had been over 100 years since the previous demon emperor encountered the calamity, and the truth that everyone knew was that he was injured by the people of the profound sky continent. But no one, not even in the wildest dreams, imagined that the true perpetrator behind the previous demon emperor's death was actually the Du Kuai palace. Moreover, it was clearly a scheme that was meticulously incubated and premeditated. My grandfather took along 10 martyrs from the Yun family to advance to the profound sky continent. But when they had just arrived, they were immediately imprisoned in the heavenly power soul-suppressing formation that was awaiting them. Was this also a perverse action caused by your Du Kuai palace? Renzu asked coldly. Yes. It was my real father. who told those from the profound sky continent when and where the Demon King would make his entry. Duke Huai murmured. Bang! Dozens of seats, along with large areas of land, were instantly destroyed where the Yun family was located. The three great elders of the Yun family, along with the various elders who followed Yun Songhai at that time, all stood there, gnashing their teeth, while their faces flushed with blood. They could barely hold themselves back from running and tearing Duke Huai to pieces with their bare hands. And the little demon emperor who killed him. How did he die? Renzu pressed relentlessly. On the wedding night of the little demon emperor and the little demon empress, he went alone to pay respects to the previous demon emperor, and he was killed by my real father. And before he died, my real father used a soul invasion technique to steal all the memories of the little demon emperor. After that, he threw the little demon emperor's body into the spatial profound formation, and also sent him to the profound sky continent. Although everyone here already knows what happened 4 months ago, doubts still remain. I will ask a simple question. 4 months ago, in the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley, who was it that tried to kill the little demon empress and me? It was my real father. And me. What was your true purpose in seducing the people of the profound sky continent to invade the illusory demon realm? We wanted to use the people of the profound sky continent to plunge the demon imperial city into chaos, so that we could assassinate both the demon emperor and the little demon emperor, and then also pin all the crimes on them. You are dukes of the illusory demon royal family. Why did you do such heinous things to the demon emperor's residence? My father was not content to serve, so he wanted to stand above them instead. Then, when did your real father, Duke Ming, harbor such ambition? Renzu narrowed his eyes slightly. Duke Huai opened his mouth, but nothing came from it. It was clear that it was something even he did not know. Renzu's questions and Duke Huai's answers, each one of them shook the souls and shocked the hearts of those present. Every word was like a huge hammer pounding on their hearts and souls. Gradually, after their fury and shock reached its zenith, what was born was an astonishingly cold dread. For the past 100 years, all the people of the illusory demon realm thought that it was those from the profound sky continent who caused the deaths of the previous demon emperor and the little demon emperor. It was the inhabitants of the profound sky continent who left the demon emperor clan bereft of an heir and made the Yun family fall into decline. It was the evil villains of the profound sky continent who caused the greatest calamity in the illusory demon realm since its formation 10,000 years ago. With that, all living beings in the illusory demon realm became filled with hatred and resentment toward the profound sky continent. It was to the point that the first thing most newborn children learned was that the residents of the profound sky continent were the eternally detested enemies of the illusory demon realm. And it was only now that they discovered, to their shock and horror, that everything they held as truth was in reality a lie. The entire illusory demon realm and all those present had been dancing in the palms of the true villain all this time. And the demon who caused the deaths of the previous demon emperor, the little demon emperor, and the demon king, and caused great suffering to the entire illusory demon realm, was none other than the person they had worshipped in this divine and sacred demon imperial hall. They had even planned to make this person the new emperor. If it weren't for the return of the little demon empress and Renzu, besides the Yun and Mu families, who were prepared to enter a life-or-death struggle, all those present would become the most tragic objects of ridicule in the history of the illusory demon realm. Shock, horror, and fury filled the hearts and minds of every person, while sweat soaked their backs. It was as if they had been imprisoned in a nightmare that lasted 100 years. And it was only today that someone finally rescued them from it. Your Duke Huai Palace has done so many scandalous things that enraged both gods and men. But those families that should remain loyal to the demon emperor's house and still went to your side, they are indeed numerous. Renzu said with an expressionless face. Duke Huai, I will trouble you to recite the names of every influence and family that joined you. Say them one by one and do not leave a single faction out. Renzu's words made many of those present tremble in shock and alarm. But Duke Huai had already begun to recite sincerely and fervently. Duke Zhong Palace, Hellion family, Qiang family, Jifeng family, Duke Z Palace, Great General Zheng Bei, Bai family. Thud. Hellion Kuang practically crawled on all fours and knelt in front of the little demon empress, while his entire body trembled and sounded as if he were on the verge of tears. Little demon empress. I was deceived and misled by the cunning scoundrel Duke Huai. If I really knew that he did such abominable things, even if I died tens of thousands of times, I still would not join him. I really was kept in the dark. I beg the little demon empress to realize this clearly. I beg the little demon empress to show me mercy. My Hellion clan has been a guardian family for 10,000 years. I, Hellion Kuang, will swear eternal loyalty to the little demon empress only, from this day forward. If I dare go back on my words, may I receive the scourge of the heavens. May I be struck by lightning. Please believe me, little demon empress. Those things done by the Duke Huai Palace. I truly knew nothing about them. Helian Kuang's voice grew hoarser, and he began to erupt into complete incoherence. The Helian Patriarch, who looked down on everyone under the heavens, was clearly reduced to a whimpering mess by the oppressive power of the little demon empress and the crimes of the Duke Huai Palace. The crimes that Duke Huai confessed. Any one of them was enough to make one's hair stand on end. Any one of them was enough to earn the eternal enmity of the illusory demon realm, and even the complete extermination of a clan to the 9th degree would not be enough to atone for the sins of those crimes. In addition, the powers and families that stood by Duke Huai would also be painted with the same broad brush. Their names would be a repugnant odor for 10,000 years, and they would never be able to free themselves from that guilt. /N. Hey everyone! If you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available. Fairy Tale, I Am Natsu Dragneel. The Vampire Diaries, I Am Sukuna. DXD, The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DXD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Iseijai Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart, my Patreon. Patreon.com/fanficnovels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. For every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. For every 100 Power Stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. 36. Chapter 36. Duke Ming makes his move. Bonus chapter. Helian Kuang cried bitterly as tears fell down his face like a storm. At that moment, his stomach was so full of regret that it had turned completely green. The other families and forces, especially those that had been cited by Duke Huai, were not just sitting there sedated. They stumbled over themselves just to fall to the ground and begin making venomous oaths, claiming their loyalties, repeating and begging for their lives in front of the little demon empress amid shock and terror. The power and strength of the little demon empress were truly incomparably terrifying, but the crimes committed by the Duke Huai Palace were much more shocking than that. Perhaps, they didn't need to fear death, but who wouldn't fear being the mark of shame and reproach, with their name being trampled and despised by countless generations from now on? Little demon empress, the things that the Duke Huai Palace committed, we really didn't know. We didn't know the slightest. If we really knew, even if we had 10,000 times more courage, we still would never associate with the Duke Huai Palace no matter what. And even that Duke Ming, I've never seen him before. Duke Huai, you, how could your gang actually be so totally wicked and without morals? Not only did you assassinate the demon emperor, you also brought calamity to the entire illusory demon realm. These crimes, even if all of you receive the condemnation of both heaven and earth and your seeds are completely uprooted and burned, those punishments still wouldn't cleanse your heinous deeds. If we knew, our Jiang family would have torn you apart personally no matter the cost. Little demon empress, although both of us prioritize our benefits, we really are ignorant regarding the affairs of the Duke Huai Palace. Otherwise, even if we were killed, we definitely wouldn't have interacted even a little with the Duke Huai Palace. If anything we said is false, we accept being struck by lightning. We beg the little demon empress to forgive us. The ones who spoke were the 2 who had attacked Yun Qinghong earlier, the 2 brothers, Bai Guihun and Bai Guiming. After hearing Duke Huai come out and confess his crimes, their souls almost scattered in shock. This humble subordinate has always been devoted to the Demon Emperor clan and the little Demon Empress. So the only reason I threw myself to the Duke Huai Palace is because I thought the little Demon Empress had encountered a calamity and was only protecting myself. The crimes of the Duke Huai Palace. This humble subordinate was not aware of them. The words of this humble subordinate and the loyalty of this humble subordinate, the sun and the moon and even heaven and earth can witness. A general dressed in golden armor had prostrated himself on the ground and was about to crack his head open from banging it hard against it. The great hall was a field of afflicted sobs, and not one of those crawling on the ground were unbeatable experts or part of proud families. Just 2 hours ago, they had all been excessively arrogant beyond limits. But now, they lamented like the lowest of the condemned, desperately begging for forgiveness in terror and remorse. As for the members of the Duke Huai Palace, all of them had sunk to the ground and their eyes were both filled with shock and horror, or they were completely vacant. No one was able to utter a single sound. They knew that from today onward, the Duke Huai Palace would have no hope of escape. As members of the Duke Huai Palace, they were shocked and scared by the crimes that had been revealed. Someone might still have a good death. But, if a life of prestige changed overnight into infamy, regardless of whether they lived or died, From now on they would be cursed by countless people. Even their descendants and all those related to them would receive the public's contempt and rejection. Their ancestors would also be shamed forever because of this. This was many times more humiliating and terrifying than simply dying. And currently they were on the edge of that hell. The crimes that the Duke Huai Palace had committed were things that the illusory demon realm had never witnessed before, crimes that were heinous enough to enrage both gods and humans. Once the little demon empress presided over their crimes, all their glories and honors would sink into the dirtiest mud. Even if they really didn't know about the crimes committed by the Duke Huai Palace. And even if they had never seen the long-disappeared Duke Ming. Rinzhu, who observed the entire scene, sighed silently, his eyes fixed on the little demon empress. The little demon empress slowly raised her eyes and declared coldly, "This empress wants to believe that all of you had no knowledge regarding the crimes committed by the Duke Huai Palace." The words of the little demon empress immediately made them happy, but her following words were like a bucket of cold water thrown over their heads, piercing them to the bones. But Duke Huai has been both openly and cowardly defiant towards this empress. So his ambition has been clear for a long time. Even if all of you were blind, you should be extremely clear about this. But instead, all of you abandoned this empress and threw yourselves with the Duke Huai Palace. So what you did was no different from open rebellion for a long time. So your bunch have no sense of shame, so much so that you are begging for mercy from this empress right now. The words of the little demon empress undoubtedly had fiercely pierced the weak point of every person here. They were extremely clear about what their actions meant and what intentions they had nurtured in the depths of their hearts. The 7 families, the various Duke palaces, and all those people who had deserted to the Duke Huai Palace, each of them was trembling uncontrollably. The only thing left for them to do was desperately beg for mercy, declare their loyalties, and make the most vicious oaths. The little demon empress slowly extended her hand, and her movement immediately made everyone hold their breaths. That soft and delicate hand that was as white as stirred snow was in their eyes, undoubtedly the hand of the god of death that could instantly steal all life. Clang! Following the turn of the little demon empress's hand, a short blade which radiated a cold light flew out from Bai Guiming and fell in front of Duke Huai with half the blade burying itself in the ground. The low voice of the little demon empress sounded following that. "Since you want to express your loyalties, very well. Whoever kills Duke Huai personally among you, this empress will forgive the crimes." A deadly silence engulfed the great hall for an instant, but following that, a surge of a wave of energy exploded, and it was as if the demon imperial hall was being shaken by an earthquake. The people who were originally kneeling on the ground all rushed frantically towards Duke Huai, their speed and panic in surging profound energy almost exceeding the limits of their lives. Helian Kuang was the closest, and his reaction speed was also the fastest. He dug up the knife that was buried in the ground and, with scarlet eyes, he rushed towards Duke Huai while howling with evident hatred. "Duke Huai! Die!" His hatred was undoubtedly true. He naturally wouldn't blame himself for the situation he found himself in now. Instead of blaming himself for betraying the integrity of his ancestors, he preferred to push the blame entirely onto Duke Huai. All his strength was concentrated in the short blade in his hand, and it thrust directly towards Duke Huai's vital areas. Helian Kuang resented that he couldn't cut his body in two directly. At that moment, an explosion sounded in the air above them, and the roof of the Demon Imperial Hall collapsed. A black-crimson conflagration, which covered the sky and the earth, brought a scalding and tyrannically sinister wave of energy along as it exploded downward. Before the flames had even arrived, that incomparably frenzied wave of energy had already made all those who had rushed towards Duke Huai fall to the ground, and the floor of the great hall sank rapidly before everyone's eyes. The little demon empress swung her long sleeve, golden crow flames rose towards the sky, and, in the blink of an eye, the diabolical fire that filled the sky was blown away by the impact. Following the dissipation of the fallen devil flames, a figure dressed in gray clothes could be seen floating in the sky far above. Duke Ming! The people who had seen Duke Ming before let out shocked screams. Although Duke Ming had disappeared for over 100 years, his appearance remained completely the same as before. Only that the smiling appearance he used to display, the warmth and courtesy and that lack of splendor air had all been dissolved into the air. At that moment, only a diabolical smile was displayed on his face. The little demon empress floated in the air and stood face to face with Duke Ming, her eyes emitting a bone-piercing cold-killing intent. Duke Ming, this empress was starting to think that you wouldn't have the courage to appear. Sigh. Duke Ming observed the terrible state of the Duke Huai Palace below and let out a short sigh. The victorious rule the world while the losers become bandits. When this Duke initially thought of my day of victory, I also naturally thought of the consequences of failure. It's just that this Duke didn't lose to any man, but lost to the divine spirit of the Golden Crow. The strength of man, in the end, cannot compete with the strength of the gods. Otherwise, this illusory demon realm would become this duke's clan. Duke Ming. So it really was you. Mu Fian pointed a finger at Duke Ming, and he was so furious that his entire body was trembling. The previous demon emperor placed so much trust in you, and all those years ago, when you wished to leave the demon imperial city, the previous demon emperor and I did our utmost to try to dissuade you. In those days, the demon king told me to be careful with you, but from beginning to end, I disapproved of what he had said. However, who would have imagined that you really were such an ungrateful, despicable, and venomous villain? Hee hee. Duke Ming laughed apathetically. The life expectancy of a man, if short, will last for decades. If long, it will last a millennium. But in the end, everything becomes dust and scatters to the heavens, and the earth. Everything is fleeting. In this short life, if a person is ambitious, why accept being inferior to another and become the servant of another person? If the demon emperor clan could establish themselves as emperors of the entire realm, then why couldn't this duke's clan as well? This duke only did what many mediocre people wish to do but didn't have the courage to do it. I did things that these commoners never even dreamed of. So, what mistake did this duke commit? Although defeated today, this duke feels only dissatisfied. I absolutely have no regrets. The words of Duke Ming are absolutely wrong. Renzu, who was standing beside Duke Huai, said indifferently. Oh. Duke Ming tilted his eyes to look at Renzu. Why don't you tell me what exactly this duke said that was wrong? It wasn't anything you said explicitly. Your entire premise is wrong to begin with. Renzu shook his head as he smiled faintly, but disdainfully. What is a human? Humans can endure not being invincible, can endure having no glorious deeds, and can endure living in complete mediocrity. What makes someone human is not their form or their independent will. The most basic characteristic and the most important definition of humanity is our human nature, our intrinsic sense of honor, and our innate sense of what is right and wrong. Duke Ming, these characteristics, do you possess them? Oh, it seems you are almost devoid of them. If that is the case, then what qualifications do you have to call yourself a man? In the end, you are merely a malicious animal. Since even the premise that you were a human being is completely wrong, then whatever you said afterward is merely a big pile of garbage. Moreover, you compared yourself to the Demon Emperor clan. That is simply the biggest joke I've ever heard. Why could the Demon Emperor clan reign supreme for 10,000 years? That has nothing to do with the fact that they inherited the Golden Crow bloodline. In those years, it was the first Demon Emperor who pacified the chaos within the illusory demon realm, ended the struggle between humans and demons, and unified the entire illusory demon realm, bringing 10,000 years of peace, prosperity, and lack of disputes to the entire realm. So, the Demon Emperor clan possesses the qualifications to rule everything under the heavens and receive the reverence of all the citizens of the realm. But you, Duke Ming, what qualifications do you have? As a member of the illusory demon royal family, you received the favor of the Demon Emperor clan. From birth, you had a noble status and you enjoyed the best that the illusory demon realm could offer. But not only did you not feel grateful and loyal, you actually nurtured such evil intentions in your heart. You even invited wolves right into the heart of the realm and let the illusory demon realm suffer a great crisis. You made the demon imperial city fall into chaos and even despicably and maliciously assassinated the previous demon emperor and the little demon emperor. The little demon empress was also almost sent to her death by you in the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. Not only did you not render a single service to the illusory demon realm, you actually created crisis after crisis. While the Demon Emperor clan has the great merit of unifying the realm, you, Duke Ming, have only heinous and evil acts left in your name. So on what basis can you compare yourself to the Demon Emperor clan? How do you even have the shamelessness to try to make that comparison in the first place? The Demon Emperor clan could rule for approximately 10,000 years and everything under the heavens was at peace. But you, even if your nefarious scheme had succeeded, on the day when all the truths came to light, you would also be destroyed under the hatred of all the people of the realm and you definitely wouldn't remain. Moreover, your real father, your grandfather, all the ancestors of your clan, what view do you think they will have regarding your so-called ambition? Do you think they will feel gratitude and pride? No. What they will feel is only pain, sadness, disgust, and anger. Yes, anger. That they cannot descend from the heavens to trample you to death. Because you turned all their glories into shame, making your clan become forever a black stain in history. And you know what's worse? You're not even fit to be a villain. True villains have class. You are just a man who got lost and dragged his own name into the mud. Silence! Duke Ming, who still carried a calm expression on his face despite his total defeat, at that moment, could not help but let out a hoarse scream filled with rage and hatred. His face distorted and intense emotions began to ripple in those previously calm eyes. In this world, the sharpest blades were the words that could cut the heart. Every sentence that Renzu uttered, every word he said, was like the sharpest of needles that sank mercilessly into his most vulnerable points. This made his originally inflexible and determined attitude, which allowed him to let go of everything, be completely pierced. "Oh? Are you angry because your shame was exposed?" Renzu's voice echoed with a cold disdain, and the smile that curved on his lips seemed more like that of an executioner enjoying the victim's agony. The aura that Duke Ming released in his fury was truly terrifying to any other. For Renzu, however, it was just a harmless breeze. He tilted his head slightly, observing the man in front of him with his black eyes, and said in a venomous and cutting tone, "The victorious is king, the loser is bandit? Don't make me laugh. That philosophy is a cheap consolation for failures. Truly ambitious people don't settle for titles or justifications. They step on everything and everyone until the world bends. You, however, are nothing more than a dirty dog trying to look like a wolf. In the end, the most you'll achieve is being remembered as an animal that barked too much before being slaughtered." Duke Ming's body began to tremble, his eyes bloodshot with hatred and humiliation. "This Duke will kill you." Renzu just smiled, a smile that made the very air freeze. /n. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available: Fairy Tale, I Am Natsu Dragneel; The Vampire Diaries, I Am Sukuna; DXD, The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DXD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Iseijai Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart. My Patreon. Patreon.com/fanfic novels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. For every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. For every 100 Power Stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. 37. Chapter 37, Burning Heaven. Falling Duke. Duke Ming roared loudly. His entire body suddenly began to blaze with flames, and a demonic flame giant over 30 meters tall descended from the sky, opening its massive, ferocious mouth as it charged furiously toward Renzu. The pressure from the 10th level of the sovereign profound realm completely suffocated everyone inside the hall, but Renzu appeared unconcerned. The demonic flame giant had flown less than 30 meters when a beam of scarlet golden flames burned through the sky. The moment it touched the demonic flame giant, it was as if ferocious flames had ignited rotten wood, and the demonic flame giant instantly began to burn. In the blink of an eye, the crimson-black demonic flame giant turned scarlet golden in color. Its figure distorted and it roared in profound agony. In a short while, it was burned to ashes and scattered into sparks that shattered across the sky. Though everyone had already experienced the extremely terrifying powers of the little demon empress time and again, a scene like this still shook the hearts and souls of all present with fear. Duke Ming's pupils contracted, and his chest heaved violently. He stared at the little demon empress and said in a bewildered voice, "Could it be, your profound energy has already reached the divine profound realm?" The 4 words "reached the divine profound realm" were so shocking that everyone was stunned, unable to snap out of that state for a long time. The divine profound realm, the legendary realm of the gods. Those who stepped into this realm would no longer be ordinary. Instead, they would become a god among men. However, the reason it was a legend was because it had never appeared before. It was even generally recognized as impossible for a mortal to achieve and merely existed in the records and imaginations of humans. The extremely ridiculous strength of the little demon empress. The bestowal of the golden crow divine spirit. Could the little demon empress, who had awakened her bloodline and received the unparalleled divine power of the golden crow soul, truly have stepped into the legendary realm that no one had ever reached? Everyone's hearts trembled violently, and the reverence and fear in their eyes as they looked upon the little demon empress increased several times. Of course, it was mostly fear. The remaining resistance in their hearts was completely shaken by the 2 words, divine profound realm, and ceased to exist. No, that's impossible. Duke Ming slowly shook his head, and the crimson-black flames on his body swayed madly. In the span of a few breaths, the flames had already risen over 300 meters high. How could it be possible for anyone to be stronger than this Duke in this world? Absolutely impossible. Duke Ming's eyes widened as he roared, and the 300-meter-tall demonic flames burning on his body let out a demonic howl and abruptly rushed toward the little demon empress. In an instant, space collapsed, and the blue sky changed color. This was the full power of a practitioner at the 10th level of the sovereign profound realm, who had once been the strongest in the illusory demon realm. If this fallen demon flame were to land, it would be enough to burn half of Demon Imperial City to ashes. An apocalyptic pressure caused the crowd below to scream in terror. The little demon empress focused her gaze as the golden crow flames burned silently on her body. She raised her arms, her slender, snow-white, and dazzling arms beneath her wide gray sleeves. But it was the simple and light swing of those slender and perfect arms that instantly formed a massive fire cage, enveloping Duke Ming and his 300-meter demonic flames within it. When the fallen demon flame touched the fire cage, no matter how violent it was, it could not advance even half an inch. The fire cage began to shrink rapidly. For every inch it shrank, the fallen demon flame retreated an inch. Gradually, the fire cage shrank to less than 300 meters, yet it continued shrinking, and the fallen demon flame, with nowhere to escape, was being compressed, swallowed, and dissipated bit by bit. Like a desperate beast trapped in a cage, no matter how it struggled or howled, it could not escape and could only await complete destruction in lament. The fire cage shrank to 10 meters and only then finally stopped shrinking. The fallen demon flame, which had originally been 300 meters tall, was burned until only fragments of flames remained, and not a single trace could escape the cage. Duke Ming was imprisoned in the center of the cage and could not move, because during the process, he had tried to escape more than 10 times, but each time he touched the golden crow flame in the fire cage, he was burned and overwhelmed by pain. The difference in strength between him and the little demon empress was evident from this. Merely based on profound energy levels, the difference between the 10th level of the sovereign profound realm and half a step into the divine profound realm was less than half a small realm, but the gap between them was half a plane. Whether it was the little demon empress's golden crow bloodline or the golden crow flame, it completely suppressed Duke Ming. The Duke Ming that the little demon empress from 4 months ago was definitely unable to oppose was now inadequate to even be her opponent. Duke Ming! The little demon empress extended her palms, but they were not directed at Duke Ming. Instead, they faced downward, and above her arms, the ascending golden crow flames blazed more and more intensely. Every word she spoke was filled with hatred. You killed my father, killed my brother, harmed my entire clan, and plunged the illusory demon realm into chaos. Your crimes must be repaid with the blood of your entire clan. This empress gave up everything and crawled back from the abyss of death to make your entire clan fall into infinite hell. The little demon empress's voice seemed to come from beyond the heavens and clearly spread to every corner of Demon Imperial City. After the last word was spoken, she swung her arms that were burning with golden crow flames. The rising scarlet flames turned into a massive golden crow flame silhouette and flew toward the western side of Demon Imperial City. In the span of a few breaths, the massive golden crow flame silhouette had already flown more than 10 miles away, hovering temporarily above, and then abruptly descended. The loud explosion shook the entire Demon Imperial City, and a pillar of scarlet golden fire shot upward, spreading toward the sky. Even from over 100 miles away, they could see the flames shooting into the heavens. Under the cruel golden crow flame, and it was the little demon empress's golden crow flame, there was no doubt that everything would be burned to ashes. That is Duke Huai Palace. The sound of screams came from everywhere, and there were even sounds of people gasping in cold air. The little demon empress had actually sent the golden crow flame to Duke Huai Palace over 10 kilometers away. Even at such a distance, the flames and smoke filling the air, and the power of the flames that still terrified and frightened people's hearts even from over 10 miles away, all showed that the Grand Duke Huai Palace had been completely demolished. The entirety of Duke Huai Palace, including the people living inside, had all been buried within, and none of them would be able to survive. The ceaseless blazing flames and the raging, dense smoke swayed in Duke Ming's pupils. In order to end the Demon Emperor clan, he had deliberately conspired for 100 years, yet the little Demon Empress used only a single torch of fire and destroyed the thousands of years of foundation of his clan. But the nightmare for Duke Huai Palace had only just begun. The little Demon Empress swung her arms, and Duke Huai's body was sucked into the air amid sparks of flames. He was still under the effects of the profound Handle Soul Search. His eyes were dim, and his face was expressionless. He was not the only one sucked into the air. There were also his sons, Duke Huiyi and Duke Huiran. Duke Ming, you caused the deaths of my father and my brother. So this empress will massacre the people of your clan, exterminate all your progeny, burn them, and kill them in the most painful way in the world. This is what your clan deserves. You! Duke Ming's face was pale, and his body was trembling slightly as well. The fire cage enveloping him was something that was not supposed to belong to this world. He was unable to escape using any of his methods and could only watch his son and grandsons being thrown high into the air. Little Demon Empress, spare me. I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. Ah! Huiyi begged desperately, but his pleas would never trigger the little Demon Empress's mercy. She ignited flames out of nowhere and enveloped the three. The sounds of begging immediately turned into horrific screams. Being burned by the little demon empress's golden crow flame, they were destined to be burned to ashes, and no one could possibly save them. But how could the little demon empress simply let them die so easily? The golden crow flame on their bodies followed their limbs and burned slowly, swallowing their bodies and blood bit by bit, torturing them with flames that seemed to come from hell itself. Wah! Little demon empress! Spare me, grandfather! Save me! Save me! Ah! The three bodies were burning in midair until their flesh and blood were all horribly mutilated and their limbs were all gone. But the sound of their screams was still horrific. They were in extreme pain and could neither live nor die. All the people below were trembling with pale faces, their teeth chattering. Just looking at a scene like this, hearing sounds like this, they were so terrified that they could barely stand. Shut up! Don't beg for her mercy! Duke Ming roared sternly. Watching his only son and grandsons end up like this, his eyes were bloodshot, and his face was pale as a fierce ghost. He extended his palm and pointed at the little demon empress while trembling, declaring, "Little demon empress? This isn't over. Don't think this duke has lost completely. The strength you have is not normal. In just 4 short months, for your profound energy to increase so fiercely, it's impossible not to have side effects. Perhaps. Your cost is death. Die before this duke?" The little demon empress furrowed her brows and said coldly, "You are about to die and still dare to speak such nonsense. This empress will now put you to a death without a grave. You alone are not enough to kill this duke." Duke Ming gnashed his teeth in apparent madness. A dark stream of blood fell swiftly from the corner of his mouth. "Little demon empress? Just wait. This duke will one day obtain revenge. Revenge that will repay this 10,000 times over. PFF. Duke Ming spat out a large layer of blood mist, and the color of the blood mist was a terrifying crimson black. Under the envelopment of the crimson black blood mist, Duke Ming's body began to gradually dissipate. At this moment, Renzu, who recognized that technique as blood escape, did not hesitate and made his move. The instant Duke Ming tried to escape enveloped in that crimson-black blood mist, a silent distortion emerged in the air in front of him. It was as if space itself had folded, coiling the surrounding void into something incomprehensible. Before he could even react, Duke Ming found himself barred, as if an invisible hand had slammed a door in his face. Moving at a ghostly speed, Renzu was already in front of him, his presence emanating an icy and inevitable pressure. His eyes gleamed like black blades reflecting distant stars. Without a single hesitation, he raised his palm and, with a precise gesture, manipulated the very fabric of space as the master of the spatial ancestral symbol. A translucent and malleable ring of energy appeared around Duke Ming, tightening slowly, as if the world itself were closing in around him. The blood mist dissipated instantly, torn away by the invisible force binding him. Duke Ming's body seemed to be pulled back into reality, his muscles straining against the restraint, while a sharp sound of tension echoed in the air. His breathing grew heavy, his body trembled, and his bloodshot eyes met Renzu's with hatred and disbelief. Renzu did not back down. His voice rang out firmly, carrying a weight that seemed to make the surrounding air vibrate. "If Tsai wasn't enough to kill you, perhaps I should add myself to that equation." Duke Ming roared with a fury that shook the air around him. His heart trembled with fear. He discovered that no matter how hard he tried, he could not break the energy ring around his body. Spatial manipulation? Could this boy have also reached the divine profound realm? He immediately paled, but his pride at being trapped in this situation overrode any thought. He immediately shouted, "Release me! Release me now, you insolent worm! You dare imprison me! Release this duke now!" The roar echoed like thunder, reverberating throughout Demon Imperial City. His muscles twisted under the pressure of the spatial prison, veins bulging across his skin as he struggled with desperate strength. The translucent ring holding him captive shimmered intensely, as if reacting to his fury, tightening even further. Renzu slowly raised his hand with an almost cruel calm, as if savoring every second of that moment. His eyes fixed on Duke Ming with an icy, almost predatory gleam. With a simple gesture, he snapped his fingers. In the next instant, the translucent ring binding him twisted and expanded, sliding through the air like a living serpent until it completely enveloped Duke Ming's mouth. It was as if a hand made of pure energy had silenced him, crushing any scream before it could escape. Duke Ming's furious roar became trapped, transforming into a muffled, almost animalistic sound. His body still writhed against the spatial prison, but now his rage had become more palpable, a mixture of humiliation and pure fury. Renzu, for his part, did not relent. His lips curved into a cold, mocking smile as his voice echoed through the silent prison. A stray dog that barks too much? I don't want to hear your yapping. He glanced toward the silent hall at that moment. The silence from the shock of him being able to subdue someone at the 10th level of the sovereign profound realm was broken by the little demon empress. The fire cage was retracted. The little demon empress became a flash and appeared beside Renzu. She looked at Duke Ming. Her eyes were filled with infinite coldness, and her chest was heaving. Previously, Duke Ming had used Blood Escape, which used blood and vitality as the cost of activation. She felt relieved and delighted in her heart, but showed nothing in her icy expression. Behind her, the screams of Hui Yi and Hui Ran had stopped. The three bodies of the father and sons had been completely burned to ashes and were floating in the air. Duke Huai, who had appeared prestigious earlier today while wearing emperor's robes and had been elected as the new emperor, along with his two extremely proud sons, had met their miserable ends on what was supposed to be the proudest day of their lives. Now, only Duke Ming remained to be dealt with. /n. Hey everyone. If you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available. Fairy Tale, I Am Natsu Dragneel. The Vampire Diaries, I Am Sukuna. DXD, The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DXD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Iseijai Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart, my Patreon. Patreon.com/fanfic novels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. For every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. For every 100 Power Stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. 38. Chapter 38, 100 Years of Hate. The little demon empress watched Duke Ming with a gaze that could freeze hell itself. Her eyes, 2 deep black wells, held no trace of emotion. Duke Ming writhed within the spatial prison, veins bulging beneath his pale skin. Her voice cut through the silence like a cold blade. Duke Ming, you stained the illusory demon realm with blood and betrayal. You killed my father, my brother. Today, this empress will finally take her revenge. Do not think you will have a quick or painless death. She took a step forward. Before you die, she continued, her voice so icy it seemed to come from another world. This empress grants you the right to speak your last words. Renzu, allow him to speak. Renzu made a slight gesture with his hand. The seal around Duke Ming's mouth dissolved, dissipating like mist in the wind. The Duke gasped, gulping in air with a stifled roar. His eyes, consumed by rage and hatred, immediately fixed on Renzu. If not for that young man standing before him, how could his plans have failed so miserably? For months ago, upon learning through intelligence from his most trusted subordinates that the little demon empress was living in seclusion in the mountains with her cultivation sealed, Duke Ming saw the perfect opportunity, the chance to kill her and begin his own ascension. However, his plans were ruined when Renzu appeared and saved her. Worse still, the two ended up encountering the Golden Crow and gaining its favor, becoming so powerful that he could never have imagined reaching them. Regret gnawed at his chest. If only he had tried a little harder to kill them 4 months ago. None of this would have happened. That was the only thing running through his mind. Last words? Humph. A twisted smile curved his lips. Last words? Ah, this Duke has nothing to say to you. He raised his gaze to the little demon empress and laughed, a hoarse sound mixed with pain and scorn. You should be kneeling before this Duke, not the other way around. If not for that brat you found, your husband, you would have been dead long ago. Your plans, your revenge, everything would have ended before it even began. In the end, you just got lucky. His laughter echoed through the hall but died quickly. The little demon empress's expression did not change, only the air around her trembled, as if space itself twisted in response to the silent hatred she carried. Then, she raised her hand. An instant later, her palm struck Duke Ming's chest with a dry thud. The impact did not seem strong, but the echo of profound energy reverberated through the air, making the walls shudder. Duke Ming's body was hurled backward, but the spatial ring held him firmly, preventing him from moving even a centimeter. The silence lasted only a second before blood gushed from his mouth. His eyes widened. Terror replaced hatred. He tried to gather profound energy, and nothing responded. And no, my veins? My profound veins. The energy within his body collapsed in chaotic spasms, fleeing from his form. His profound veins had been destroyed. Duke Ming, the man who believed himself invincible, fell to his knees. The pain made him grind his teeth until blood dripped from his lips. The sensation of emptiness within his body was worse than death. The little demon empress observed the scene without moving a muscle. Her voice sounded low, almost a whisper, but each word was a blow. This empress wanted to give you the taste of helplessness before killing you. That invincible strength you prided yourself on is worth nothing now. Duke Ming tried to scream, but the sound that emerged was an animalistic growl. He pounded the ground, his face twisted in pure insanity. You crippled me, he roared, his voice breaking. The strongest in this world. Reduced to this? I will kill you, you damned. I will. The sentence dissolved into a frenzied roar. Renzu calmly raised his hand while manipulating space. A sharp snap resounded, and Duke Ming's mouth was once again sealed by a thin, translucent layer of spatial energy. His maddened roar was silenced in an instant, leaving only the muffled sound of irregular, desperate breathing. The hall plunged into absolute silence. Everyone watched, petrified, the man who had reached the 10th level of the sovereign profound realm. A power so immense that it allowed him to disdain the heavens and earth of the illusory demon realm itself. The little demon empress remained motionless. Renzu, beside her, observed without saying a word. The little demon empress walked up to Duke Ming. She crouched before him calmly while raising her delicate hand, which glowed with the golden crow flames. The flame in her hand grew, enveloped in golden hues that illuminated Duke Ming's face. She pressed her palm against his chest. The sound that followed was not human. The flame spread slowly across Duke Ming's body, like a river of fire coursing beneath the skin. He writhed, trying to scream, but Renzu's seal prevented it. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. Duke Ming's eyes were wide and trembling in despair, begging for something. Mercy, death, anything. But the little demon empress merely watched. With each second, the flame burned deeper, melting flesh, consuming bones, yet still not allowing him to die. Under her control, the golden crow fire did not kill quickly. It scorched the soul, tearing away every fragment of consciousness until only agony remained. The spectators recoiled, horrified by the scene, stepping back to protect their own sanity, averting their eyes or trying not to stare at the torture for too long. It was simply brutal. The little demon empress lived up to all the rumors of her cruelty, and now everyone could witness it firsthand. When the flames finally extinguished, what remained of Duke Ming was nothing more than ashes floating in the air. Not a single trace of his body or soul survived. The little demon empress lingered there for a moment, watching the ashes dissipate, carried by the wind. Her face remained emotionless, revealing nothing, but inside, her mind and heart were a whirlwind. 100 long years of hatred and loneliness. 100 years living under the suffocating shadow of a lie. All that time, she had believed her father and brother's deaths were a cruel whim of fate, an inevitable disaster. When the truth came to light, she froze everything that remained within her, leaving only vengeance. And now, she had achieved it. That man, the source of all her pain, had been reduced to nothing more than dust. An indescribable sensation overwhelmed her chest. An insane mixture of relief, triumph, and bitter pleasure. It was as if a mountain had been lifted from her shoulders, but the emptiness that remained made her tremble inside. The taste of revenge was sweet and terribly lonely. If not for Renzu, none of this would have been possible. He, who declared himself her husband, had truly fulfilled the role he promised. He respected her wishes, fought by her side, and guided her steps in the darkness without ever trying to change her. At that thought, her gaze faltered for a brief instant. A warm emotion, nearly forgotten, blossomed amid the ice of her heart. An intense, confused feeling impossible to name, but real. She truly had been lucky to meet him. After a while, she turned slowly around, and her vision swept downward. In the ruined demon emperor's hall, those sinners who had surrendered to Duke Huai's palace were still kneeling on the ground, and no one dared to rise. Under the little demon empress's gaze, their bodies trembled, and every pore from head to toe shook. This empress will give you a chance to atone for your crimes. The little demon empress's voice was like the reaper's judgment, ringing coldly in their ears. I give you 10 days. In those 10 days, this empress wants all of you to annihilate the entire clan of Duke Huai's palace. Father, mother, wife, exterminate their whole family. Even women and children cannot be spared. And bring their bodies, pile them in front of the gate of Demon Imperial City, and burn them all. Not a single hair can remain. After 10 days, if anyone from Duke Huai's clan remains, this empress will condemn and kill 100 of you. If 10 people remain, then this empress will kill 1,000 of you. The little demon empress's cruel command initiated the most terrifying reign of terror in the history of Demon Imperial City. A baptism of blood with the little demon empress's infinite hatred, centered on Duke Huai's palace, descended upon the sacred demon imperial city of the illusory demon realm. /n. Hey everyone! If you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available. Fairy Tale, I Am Natsu Dragneel. The Vampire Diaries, I Am Sukuna. DXD, The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DXD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Iseijai Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart, my Patreon. Patreon.com/fanfic novels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. For every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. For every 100 Power Stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. 39. Chapter 39, The Trash That Ascended to the Heavens. The ascension ceremony of the new emperor, which had captured everyone's attention, ended in a way no one could have imagined, replaced by a fresh bloodbath involving the rebels and Duke Huai's palace. Due to the cruel order to exterminate the entire Duke Huai palace, all those who had originally surrendered to it now madly raised their butcher knives against its people. Those who once sincerely wished to lick the feet of Duke Huai's palace couldn't wait to completely disassociate themselves from it. Everyone was scrambling to be the first, terrified of being the last to kill fewer people than the others, especially the 7 great guardian families and the various Duke palaces. They knew clearly in their hearts that if they wanted to save themselves and protect their families, they had to do whatever it took to prove their loyalty to the little demon empress, even if it meant abandoning their dignity, wagging their tails and begging for it, because now, the little demon empress held absolute power to make their 10,000-year-old families perish overnight, and with a few words, she could ensure their clans would be remembered in history as infamous traitors. Duke Huai's palace was, after all, Duke Huai's palace. They had numerous powerful practitioners, but it was impossible for them to withstand the combined forces of all these unparalleled and mighty experts. They were eventually overwhelmed and captured. The deadline the little demon empress gave was 10 days, but it took only a short 3 days for Duke Huai's palace to be completely devastated and the entire family exterminated. Not a single survivor remained. Even those of Duke Huai's family thousands of kilometers away were killed. The once prosperous and extraordinary Duke Huai's palace had become charred ruins. The thick smell of blood was overpowering and lingered for a long time. No one dared approach within 10 kilometers. At that time, in Demon Imperial City, every power trembled in fear, everyone felt insecure, and even while walking, they were cautious, not daring to speak too loudly. All the heroes of the realm who had come from all directions to participate in the little demon empress's reign ceremony and the new emperor's ascension ceremony were still unable to leave, because in 7 days, the interrupted reign ceremony would resume once more. This was also an order from the little demon empress herself. No one dared disobey her commands now. In contrast, the Yun family was filled with an atmosphere of excitement these days. All for one reason: Yun Rinzhu. The name that, until recently, was barely mentioned outside Demon Imperial City, and within it was known as the disgrace of the Yun family for failing to awaken the profound fist, for many years, was now spoken with reverence throughout the illusory demon realm. The young man who had returned alongside the little demon empress after saving her life was now recognized not only as the new pillar of the Yun family, but as someone who had achieved the legendary divine profound realm, something deemed impossible for hundreds of years. But that wasn't the only reason hearts were rejoicing. Yun Rinzhu wasn't just the Yun family's new pride. He was also the future husband of the little demon empress. In other words, one day he would be the supreme ruler of the illusory demon realm. As soon as they returned from the new demon emperor's ascension ceremony, the Yun family prepared a grand banquet at their residence to celebrate Rinzhu's return. The event, however, was not open to the public. Only the closest family members and a few allied noble families were invited to attend. The main hall was illuminated by sparkling crystals, and the air was infused with the delicate fragrance of rare flowers brought from the purple cloud mountains. Restrained laughter, respectful glances, and murmurs of admiration filled the space. Everyone knew this wasn't just a celebration. It was the prelude to a new era, where the Yun family's name would once again become synonymous with absolute power, as it had been during the Demon Emperor's time. The banquet lasted an entire day, filled with music, laughter, and toasts in honor of Yun Rinzhu's return. However, the true climax of the celebration came when it was revealed that Rinzhu had accomplished something no one in the illusory demon realm had ever achieved. 4 months earlier, he had been the one to cure Mu Yuro and Yun Qinghong. The news hit the guests like thunder in a clear sky. Many were left speechless, others simply couldn't believe it. For years, Countless renowned doctors and spiritual masters had tried to treat the mysterious illness afflicting the couple, but all had failed. That the young Yun Renzu had achieved the impossible seemed to defy logic itself. In no time, murmurs of admiration turned into acclaim. The title of medicine immortal began spreading rapidly throughout the illusory demon realm, and Yun Renzu's name became synonymous with miracle. After the banquet, the excitement didn't diminish in the slightest. Moonlight poured softly over the Yun residence, tinting the rooftops silver white and making the night air seem suspended between dream and reality. After a long conversation with his parents, Renzu slowly walked back to his secluded courtyard, the same place where few dared disturb him. During the conversation, Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro finally revealed the truth that, deep down, Renzu already knew. They were not his biological parents. He was, in fact, the son of Xiaoying, someone originally from the profound sky continent whom they had met while traveling there on the little demon empress's orders. They recounted the entire old story of the baby swap and brotherhood, which he knew from the original tale. Naturally, it was he who steered the conversation to that point, using the little demon empress's name as a pretext to justify his discovery and question whether it was true. He also learned why his parents had believed he was dead. According to them, Duke Huai had spread carefully planted rumors through his servants, making it seem as though Renzu had perished alongside the little demon empress. Since he had truly disappeared for a long time without any news, the lie gained traction and became virtually undeniable. Duke Huai was indeed cunning, having planned everything with surgical precision. He patiently waited for the right moment, until the day of his own ascension, to push Yun Qinghong and Mu Yuro into rebelling in despair over their son's supposed death, causing the Yun family to lose prestige and more. Then, capitalizing on the chaos and commotion, he branded them traitors and ordered their execution, legitimizing a massacre in the name of imperial loyalty. It was a flawless trap, set step by step and nearly perfect. If not for the timely return of the little demon empress and himself, his parents would already be dead. Thinking this far, Renzu let out a long sigh and raised his gaze to the night sky. The moonlight bathed his face, outlining his features with an almost divine serenity. His appearance remained so absurdly perfect it bordered on unreal, beautiful like a true immortal. His jet-black hair, darker than a starless night, fell in smooth, silky strands that reflected the moon like threads of liquid obsidian. Every movement made them glide with ethereal grace, as if guided by an invisible force. His skin was pure and translucent, white as fresh snow on a celestial peak. Flawless, as if the gods, in shaping him, had spent eternity's patience on a single being. His face, with soft yet defined contours, possessed the exact harmony between masculinity and ethereal beauty, an impossible balance to replicate, and his black eyes remained as indifferent and calm as ever. It was like gazing into a dark lake at midnight, beautiful, profound, and immeasurable. He wore his usual white robes, which further accentuated his immortal-like appearance. He lived up to the title of the most beautiful man in the illusory demon realm, as all its inhabitants had begun calling him since then. The problem was that those who knew him before couldn't comprehend how he had suddenly become so irresistibly handsome. The transformation in his appearance was so evident it sparked curiosity, forcing him to offer explanations. Fortunately, his discreet acting and perfect pretense of ignorance were enough. No one dared press him beyond what was necessary, and the aura of mystery he exuded only heightened the fascination surrounding him. In short, he had problems with this now. Fortunately, he had power to back him up. Otherwise, he might have been kidnapped by some obsessed man or woman fixated on his looks. He let out a brief laugh at the thought and continued toward the courtyard, where the night silence seemed to await him like an old friend. It didn't take long for him to reach his secluded courtyard, a place he would soon no longer call home. In a short time, he would move to the royal family palace, where he would live alongside the little demon empress. They hadn't discussed it yet. After all, they had barely seen each other in recent days. Even so, it was inevitable sooner or later that moment would come, considering he was her future husband. Renzu gently pushed open the wooden courtyard door, and a faint creak cut through the tranquil silence of the night. He hadn't come to rest. On the contrary, the reason for returning to the courtyard was to refine some pills to help the little demon empress. His mind drifted back to the scene in the Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. Her pale face and emotionless eyes as she pinned him to the ground. And when the Golden Crow's soul said she had only 3 years of life left, she didn't hesitate. And how she dealt with Duke Huai's palace upon her return, with cruelty, ruthlessness, a sharp pain in his heart that he couldn't control. Right now, what people saw was only her inviolable dignity and indomitable power. But no one knew what she had suffered, endured, sacrificed, and everything she had spent all this time, without her close family. She had to bear everything alone. Now, too, it was she alone who avenged the Demon Emperor clan, reformed Demon Imperial City, and shouldered the blood debt of the entire Duke Huai palace. Though he had helped, the weight of it all rested on her delicate shoulders. She was, after all, just a woman. If it were another woman, even with 1,000 times her willpower, she would have collapsed long ago. Without the title of Little Demon Empress, her life would be even harder and more miserable than that of an ordinary woman. The Little Demon Empress's profound energy was now sustained by burning and exhausting her own life. At most, she could live another 3 years. That was what the Golden Crow Divine Beast Soul had said. Even a Divine Beast Soul had declared it still. He had ways to keep her alive. The first and most practical was to find the third ranked of the 7 great divine profound treasures, the primordial seal of life and death, which held the power of eternity. Among the 7 great celestial profound treasures, the primordial seal of life and death ranked below only the heaven-punishing ancestral sword and the evil infant's wheel of myriad tribulations. It was said to have been born at the center of the primordial universe, and its energy was connected to that of the primordial universe. As long as the primordial universe did not perish, it would never be destroyed. If he could obtain the primordial seal of life and death and the Little Demon Empress used it, then as long as she wasn't killed by an external force, she could live as long as she wished. Not only would she not die, but she would never age either. The primordial seal of life and death was the only artifact that guaranteed eternal life in the entire primordial universe. In ancient times, even true gods went mad for it, because even though a true god had long longevity, it wasn't infinite. And the stronger a god became, the more frantically they desired it. Eternal life was a temptation no living being could resist. That was why it qualified to rank third among the 7 great celestial profound treasures. Since he already knew its location and all related details, he was confident he could obtain that celestial treasure in at most 3 years. However, he didn't intend to put all his hopes on it. It would be imprudent to bet everything on a single possibility. Besides, why wait 3 years when he knew multiple methods capable of curing the Little Demon Empress? Even if each required specific conditions or considerable risks, alternatives still existed. Delaying for so long seemed wasteful, especially for someone like him who couldn't afford to lose that much time, as he planned to travel to the profound sky continent in 3 months. /N. Hey everyone! If you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available: Fairy Tale, I Am Natsu Dragneel, The Vampire Diaries, I Am Sukuna, DxD, The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DxD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Isagi Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart. My Patreon. Patreon.com/fanficnovels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back. For every 5 5-star reviews plus 1 extra chapter released. Only 5 left. For every 100 Power Stones plus 1 extra chapter released. The more support you give, the faster new chapters will arrive. 40. Chapter 40 Sun and Moon Pill. Rinzu walked through the silent corridors of his residence until he reached a small side door that led to his private garden. The soft sound of the night wind brushing against the leaves and the silvery glow of the moon reflecting on the herbs created an immortal atmosphere. Compared to a few months ago, the garden had grown considerably. Even without him dedicating time to tending the plants, the herbs bloomed in full vigor. This was due to the unique nature of the soil, which was bathed daily in the vapor of the life-spirit flame, acquiring a level of vitality far beyond any common earth. One could say that the soil in that garden carried a priority similar to the flame itself, albeit on a much smaller scale. Even so, it was enough for the herbs to grow dozens of times faster than normal. He observed the plants and smiled faintly. Amid the profusion of colors and fragrances, 3 particularly rare specimens stood out. The golden sun herb, which emitted a soft glow every time the sun rose, the white eternity fruit, which ripened only once every 10,000 years, and the lunar flame leaf, a plant that absorbed the cold energy of the moon and transformed it into vitality. These were the main components of the sun and moon pill, one of the most difficult pills Rinzu had learned to create through the miracle of life. It was known for extending the life of whoever ingested it, harmonizing the solar and lunar energies within the body, balancing the cycles of vitality and rest. In its most perfect form, a single pill could prolong someone's life by 1 billion years, elevating even an ordinary mortal to the level of a true god in terms of longevity. However, the ingredients necessary for a divine pill were practically impossible to gather in the current primordial chaos. Most had vanished along with the true gods themselves. Still, he didn't need anything that exalted. An inferior version would suffice for what he intended. With the herbs he possessed, He could create a pill capable of granting 10,000 years of life to the little demon empress, the lifespan of a profound practitioner in the divine origin realm. And if she continued to cultivate and reached even higher levels, her longevity could extend much further. Thinking up to that point, with a gentle movement of his right hand, he raised his arm, and the vermilion bird flames emerged in the palm of his hand. They danced silently, swirling and molding under his will until they took the shape of a majestic cauldron. His profound art of the vermilion bird divine cauldron. With his other hand, he concentrated his profound energy and traced a brief gesture in the air. Following his command, various herbs began to rise slowly, suspended by an invisible force. The roots trembled, releasing small sparks of medicinal energy that glimmered in the air like spiritual fireflies. Then, one by one, the herbs were thrown into the flaming cauldron. The blazing sun lotus was the first to be devoured by the flames, emitting a low, vibrant sound, like the distant roar of a sleeping dragon. Soon after, the 9E moonflower was absorbed, and a blue-silver mist enveloped the cauldron, blending with the red light and creating a spectacle of colors that seemed to defy logic. The Thousand Souls herb, the Miran celestial root, the lunar flame leaf, all followed the same fate. Inside the cauldron, each herb was broken down into pure essence and blended with the others under his meticulous control. His expression remained indifferent, but his eyes gleamed with absolute concentration. No error would be tolerated. The air grew thick with the scent of combusting medicinal essences. A thin layer of golden light began to emerge from the cauldron, undulating in circles that resembled the rising and setting of the sun. The perfect symbol of the sun and moon pill. Renzu adjusted the intensity of the flames, reducing it until the fire became almost transparent. When the process reached the ideal point, he raised his finger and made a quick seal in the air. The cauldron responded immediately, condensing all the accumulated energy into a single point. Renzu merged the two pills into a single incandescent sphere, and in that instant, the surrounding air seemed to tremble. The golden and silver glow intertwined in a whirlwind of energy that lightly distorted space, as if the world itself resisted the formation of something so unnatural. Droplets of sweat trickled from his forehead and slid down his chin, evaporating before they even touched the ground. If not for his absolute mastery over his profound energy, he would already have been consumed by exhaustion. Refining a pill like that, even an inferior version, was something that surpassed the limits of what a practitioner in the Emperor Profound realm could achieve. Renzu maintained the seal formed with his fingers, his eyes fixed on the sphere of light hovering before him. Within it, gold and silver fused into an intense white glow, a light pure enough to blind a mortal. It was like witnessing the birth of a new sun. The fusion finally reached the critical point. A low hum reverberated through the garden, and the flames began to slowly retract, sucked back into the central sphere. The fire cauldron vanished silently, leaving only a white light suspended in the air, flickering like a living flame. Finally, the light began to dissipate, revealing a single pill. It was the size of a pearl, yet it emanated a presence that transcended any mortal understanding. Its surface constantly alternated between golden and silver tones, and inside, a small sun and moon seemed to orbit in perfect harmony. Even the surrounding air seemed to bow. Renzu extended his hand and held it between his fingers. He observed it for a long time, the artifact's glow reflecting in his calm eyes. Perfect. A part of him felt proud to have succeeded in creating such a pill, something no other living being except him could achieve at that moment in the primordial chaos. With the sun and moon pill, the little demon empress would no longer need to worry about the burden of death for at least 10,000 years. Renzu gently turned his hand, and a small white jade box appeared before him, floating above his palm. Carefully, he placed the sun and moon pill inside it. As soon as the lid closed, the little box emitted a faint golden glow and vanished into the air. After storing the sun and moon pill, he sat cross-legged on the garden grass, eyes closed, immersing himself in silence to recover the profound energy consumed earlier. The moonlight fell upon him, highlighting the immortal features of his face. The aroma of the surrounding herbs floated through the air, mingling with the gentle night breeze, yet carrying a medicinal purity that seemed to nourish even the soul. Time passed slowly. When he opened his eyes again, all exhaustion had vanished. He rose slowly, and a faint smile formed on his lips. Soon, he would leave that place to reside in the palace, by the side of the little demon empress. Therefore, before departing, he intended to use all the herbs in his garden. Besides, there were still pills he wanted to refine. With a sweep of his arm, several herbs rose from the ground. They floated until forming a perfect circle in front of him, exuding a dense and refined fragrance. Renzu created the vermilion bird divine cauldron once more. He wanted to refine some overlord pills, It possessed the power to allow a profound practitioner at the peak of the Emperor Profound Realm to instantly surpass their limitations and ascend to the Tyrant Profound Realm. He intended to use it only when he reached the 10th level of the Emperor Profound Realm, which would likely happen in a few months. Thus, he decided to prepare it now, while he still had time and tranquility, as he would be occupied in the coming months. Although the materials required to make an Overlord pill were precious and rare, they were not rare to the point of being incomparably precious. While these materials were valuable treasures that were difficult to buy with money for the common man, for powers at the level of a guardian family or a duke palace, they could be considered extremely common. Their foundation of over 10,000 years was not just for show. But the reason the Overlord pill was so valuable, that even guardian families and duke palaces desired it, was because its refinement method was simply far too difficult. Refining each pill would consume an immeasurable amount of effort and time. In addition, the refinement period for each Overlord pill could be as long as 50 years. Not only that, but during those 50 years, the individual had to meticulously control the heat, the amount of ingredients used, and the precise timing at which the ingredients were added. Everything had to be extremely precise. Moreover, morning dew and evening dew had to be used each day to purify it, and the most suitable profound energy had to be used to guide its medicinal power, and during those 50 years, a single misstep would render all prior efforts wasted. In the entire illusory demon realm, there were currently only 2 people who had the skill to refine an Overlord pill. Those 2 people had to expend all their energy to refine just one. Although they worked on it with the utmost meticulous care for 50 years, the success rate of refining an Overlord pill was only 50%. Thus, in 100 years, Duke Baoqing Palace, which was capable of producing such pills, could produce at most 2 Overlord pills. It was no exaggeration to say that each Overlord pill was refined using the lives of the members of Duke Baoqing Palace. Although the difficulty was great for others, that did not mean it was for him who could be comparable. Renzu maintained the same calm and indifferent gaze as the vermilion bird divine cauldron floated before him, made entirely of living flames. 12 sets of herbs hovered in a circle, each prepared to become an Overlord pill. The mere sight would be enough to make anyone capable of refining it faint from shock. Refining one was already a task that required decades. He, however, would refine 12 in a single session. With a gesture, the vermilion bird flames burned furiously. The 12 portions of herbs were sucked into the flaming cauldron, dissolving into a storm of colors. Inside the cauldron, the process that would take others 50 years unfolded at an unimaginable pace. The spiritual essences collided, fused, and purified in perfect cycles. His hand seals changed in a fluid sequence. The cauldron responded, compressing the 12 essences into gleaming cores. Each core spun in opposite directions, balancing the energy flow and preventing mutual annihilation. 1 hour passed. Just one. The flames abruptly ceased, retracting into the cauldron. The fire vanished, and in the air remained only 12 pills floating side by side. Renzu randomly picked up one pill and gave it a cursory glance. All the refined medicinal pills were of the highest quality. Just the glow and aura alone were several degrees purer than those pills refined by Duke Baoqing Palace. As for effectiveness and medicinal gentleness, it was far, far superior. Not only that, the amount of materials consumed was only a quarter of what Duke Baoqing Palace used. After all, the refinement methods of ordinary people would inevitably cause a large portion of the medicinal effect to be lost in the process. But with the vermilion bird flames and his own profound alchemy art, no medicinal effect would be lost. He gently moved his hand, and the 12 pills aligned in a row before him. With a gesture, a long crimson jade box materialized in the air. The pills slowly descended and rested inside it. As soon as the lid closed, the jade glowed faintly and then disappeared. Silence returned to the garden. Only the distant sound of the night wind remained. Renzu sighed, lightly cracking his neck. 1 hour of work, 50 years of effort saved. I suppose that already counts as efficiency. He paused briefly, as if reflecting on something, before speaking again. By the way, Sai, what are you doing here? His tone carried no surprise or reproach, only tranquil curiosity, as if he had known of her presence long before calling her. Indeed, he had sensed her a while ago. His spiritual perception was abnormally sharp. In the entire illusory demon realm, no one could approach him without being noticed. Less than 5 steps away, a small and delicate figure stood among the garden's glowing herbs, as if she had emerged from nowhere. The gentle breeze swayed her long black strands, and the silvery moonlight outlined her fine and proud features. A pair of deep eyes, akin to a silent and starry night, stared at him coldly. It was the little demon empress. /n. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying my stories and want to support my work, consider checking out my Patreon. There, you'll get access to 3 exclusive stories, each with 10 chapters already available: Fairy Tale, I am Natsu Dragneel. The Vampire Diaries. I am Sukuna. DxD. The Search for Freedom and Eternity. In addition, I post daily chapters of my main series. My unique skill is Fate Gacha, DxD. I was reincarnated as a side character, so I decided to become the villain, ATG, Blue Lock. I am Isejai Yoichi. Your support helps me keep writing every day and bring you even more content. Red Heart. My Patreon. Patreon.com/fanficnovels. Fanfic novels for $5.99. You get full access to all content, no holding back.
Every novel listed in the description comes with permanent access to the audiobook on Telegram. You pay once, and if the novel is still ongoing, you'll receive all future updates automatically. No extra cost. Choose your novel from the description, then DM me on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord. After payment via PayPal, Ko-Fi, or Patreon, you'll get instant access. Simple, secure, lifetime listening. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Your support means a lot.